Hi, Vincent. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hi. Hi. You can hear me now.
Yes, but
Can
hold on.
you?
I'm trying to get you on my headset. Hold on. Hello.
Hi.
Oh, it's still. Wait, I'll come right back.
Oh, I could hear you fine. Oh, well. Oh, now there's two of you.
I don't know why there. Hold on. There shouldn't be two of me. Hold on.
I can remove you, I guess. Okay.
Okay, hold on one second. I'm just trying to get this on my headset. Hello?
Hi.
Okay, there we go. I got it on my headset. I don't know why you insist on coming on StreamYard. It's so much more boring.
Well, I just realized that one of my spaces is sort of can't be accessed. I don't know why that was. Then I remembered Stephen saying that it doesn't, that they don't all stay online. They just delete it, I guess, when they think they've had enough of you or you're using too much of their space. And also, it's just okay. I mean, I just find it annoying talking to some of the others, um, and and we haven't had a proper conversation for a while, have we?
No, no, we haven't. And I know that when other people come on the space, it intervenes. But I feel like there's more chance to get more viewers, and I get more views on my spaces than I ever did on YouTube. And YouTube just seems so old hat at this point. You know what I mean? It seems like it's gone to the
Well,
wayside.
yeah. I mean, the quality of people on X is certainly better. They're not real, not really stupid or complete retards. But I guess what's still good about YouTube is that it's more interactive and um, it's more searchable, and occasionally people do come to it. And yeah, I know it's not, it's not interactive, I suppose. I mean, if you want people to join, um, but I think every now and then it's good to talk to people on YouTube because it's a different group of people, isn't it? I think people are just sort of reluctant to jump from, if they're always on YouTube, they don't seem to want to go on Twitter unless they're already on Twitter. There's a kind of stickiness to it. Um, but uh, yeah,
Yeah. Um, I'm surprised this petition that you saw the petition to put in $300 million for no height education from Trump. it got people going for some reason. People are talking about it. I don't know why that, because I looked at it and they want 10,000 signatures. And what do they have right now? They have 389, but I think it just started like yesterday or the day before. Doesn't have a date on this, but it looks like they're trying to get 10,000 signatures by March the 9th. And
And then it will get past a certain threshold, and is that what you mean? And then they're more likely to get the funding they want. Is
yeah,
that what you
but
mean?
yeah, they're trying to get 10,000 signatures. And
It's
yeah,
not too many. I mean, it's feasible, I guess, that they'd get that amount, and quite easily, I imagine.
maybe. I mean, they're at 4%, it says on there. It says that they're at 4%. So did you sign it?
No, I mean, I didn't think it would matter even if I could, because it's. Don't you have to be a US citizen or something?
No, people from Israel have signed. It shows what country they signed it from. There, when you go all the way down to the bottom, there's a section where it's Singapore, Indonesia, United States, Israel.
Wow, really? Hmm. And do you think that it's guaranteed that they receive it, or will people be complaining? I mean, it sounds. Well, I don't
Well,
know.
I think more people are going to complain and fight this than people who are going to sign it. You know what I
That's
mean?
what I thought.
At this point, I don't know. It's every time I go on X, whenever I look up Noahide law, it's all negative. It's all negative.
Well, I imagine it would be. Um, so, I mean, I think it's actually a good opportunity to. I mean, I'm happy about it, basically because then people will complain and there'll be more publicity about it and more discussion and yeah, more controversy just because people will be upset. And then I think if the Muslims are playing their cards properly, then they can say, they don't need um, they don't need the money from. They don't need. Yeah, it should be coming to us, sort of thing, because we're no hide religion. And then I guess they'll say, oh, but you're not no hide enough, and or whatever,
Yeah, they're going to
and
tell the
maybe get a.
Muslims. They're going to tell the Muslims they're not Noahide enough. Correct.
Yeah, but that will be it. Well, I do think the Muslims are just going to say, "Oh dear, sorry," and forget about it. I'm sure Daniel Hokikachu will be saying something, don't
Daniel
you?
Hakikatsu has talked about the Noahide laws before, but I don't think he's talked about it in like. I don't think he's talked about it in a way like, oh, they're not good, or it's not something we should, or I don't think Muslims have any plans to deal with this. I think that they're being arrogant, and I think that they're just resting on their laurels, and they think, well, we don't have to do anything about this. And that my whole message from the beginning of time has been that this is serious and that it does pose a threat. And, we'll see.
Yes, I mean, I keep saying Daniel Hokikachu because I think the others are really stupid. But at the moment, the he's embroiled in some stupid discussion about his creed, and they're accusing him of being a spy for Iran and not really a Sunni and pretend and he's still a Shia and all kinds of really stupid things, and these accusations are coming from other Muslims. Um, so I guess they are behaving like weasels in a sack too. Um,
Yeah, no, I mean, they're very divided. The Muslims are very divided. And, they're very divided and they can't really get much done. And yes, every time I'm in a Muslim space, they're all accusing each other of working for different governments. if it's not this government, it's that government, or this tribe or that tribe. Everyone's from CIA. Everyone is from, this person. So
I mean, I do think the Jews are necessarily better, but maybe it's coloured by the perception of Gentiles of how united and sinister and cunning and all these things they are. But basically, obviously this no-hide laws thing is going to be profitable for some rabbis. If they pay more and if they don't offend too many people, and if they can just say to Gentiles, oh, you're not no-hide as long as you're a nice person, and blah blah. And I'm sure there will be quite a few of them who, will be more than happy to sign a few no-hide certificates for a fee, I'm sure. And if Trump wants to give the impression that, he's going to be more moral than the previous administrations, then, I guess that's all to play for. But I'm saying Muslims should just say, there's no need for the no-hide laws because, excuse me, the no-hide laws is against the First Amendment, right? I mean, they just have this perfect argument. The no-hide laws would mean some kind of penalty for idolaters and blasphemers, and that would be un-American and infringing on the First Amendment. So how about some Sharia instead?
Well, let's see what they say, because all the Muslims I know all the Muslims I know dismiss this. Look, the only people, there was another unfolding of Noahide banners in Palestine, and the only people who care are Christians. The Muslims, I didn't see one Muslim on those Palestine Noahide posters being like, oh goodness, we need to stop this. It was all Christians.
Well, the Christians wanted to stop it.
The Christians want to get rid of the Noahide laws, but the Muslims are just being very lackadaisical about this.
So these Christians in Palestine are Arabs, are they?
Yes. No, I'm talking about online, this stuff about the Noahide laws in Palestine only got consideration from Christians, and all the Muslims are like, I follow these laws anyway. What's the problem? That's the Muslims' first reaction is, well, I already follow these laws, so I don't get what's wrong with them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of arguments that these Muslims can make. It's like the money should come to us, and we'll promote your, this no-hide religion that these Jews are so keen on because we're it. So give us a 300 million. Mr. President. I mean, I guess I'd say that. If you want to, give the impression that under your administration, Americans in the West will experience moral renaissance and, and principled behavior, blah, 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 then surely you need, a better book than the Babylonian Talmud that doesn't even that Gentiles aren't even supposed to read because the Jews don't like it. I mean, there's so many things they could say.
Yeah, there is, but they're not, and they're inept. They could have said a lot of things about Christianity too, but they're inept. I mean, the only Muslim that has anything cogent to say to fight off Christianity is Qualcomm. He's the only one that really fights it. All the other Muslims are too busy being like, oh, but Jesus appears in our Testament, and we love Jesus too, and we want to be nicey nice with the Christians, and Christian Muslim alliance against the Jews. The Muslims don't complain about anyone except for Hindus. And, that's all that they complain about, and the Jews sometimes, but even that is like dubious.
Yeah, and that's why I keep, going back to Daniel Hockeycatcher, who seems the most creative and eloquent of all of them, because the others are just they're really boring. The they're just not going anywhere, and they're not particularly creative or knowledgeable. But that's fine because he's American, and you know, he's probably the most listened to Muslim American, and as such, he's ideally placed. Because I think the other Muslims also look up to him because no one else is as influential and respected as he is. Unless you can
Well,
think of another one, another Muslim, I mean.
no, not really. Not one that's like not trashy. Like who? Muhammad Hijab?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he would have to be American as well. So, for all sorts of reasons, and the fact that he's, Iranian, kind of Shia and Sunni, because all Iranians are Shia, and he thought the Shia beliefs were so stupid he had to convert to Sunniism. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy that all this controversy is beginning to boil up. I hope there'll be more of it. I mean, it's really a matter of it reaching some kind of critical mass. So more people. I don't think enough people know about it yet.
The Noahide laws.
Yeah, unless mainstream media starts talking about it, nobody will really pay attention to it.
Well,
It's
they're starting to. It's a lot. Look, it's a lot better than when I started this 12 years ago. When I started this 12 years ago, I couldn't get anyone to even respond to me, let alone talk about it. And but now, if type in Noahide on X, and you'll see every day I type in Noahide on X, and there's like 50 posts about it. So or more than 50 posts about it per day. So people are talking.
good,
Hello?
good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
Hello?
hear you now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
people are talking, which is nice to see that people are talking about it at least. And my articles have been getting more views lately. Um, my articles are actually, they're because a lot of times in the past, I mean, I would get like very few views. I would get very few views on my articles, but it's changing now. I just posted an article to, yes, I just posted that article. Oh, when did I post that? Today or yes? I think I posted it. Let me just see when I posted this article.
How many
No,
views have you got?
I posted it. Oh, I posted it yesterday and it already has a lot of views. So, and I think that the views are suppressed because like I know that like a lot of
Yeah.
people will say they saw my article and it'll say like two people saw it, and so I know that the numbers are suppressed.
Yeah, I know. I know my account's been ordered shadow banned. But in the chat is Ricardo Williams, aka Brundlefly, saying hi to you and asking you questions on YouTube.
He's asking questions
Yeah.
about what?
Can you read it? Um,
Hold
he
on.
wants your opinion about the new faith czar that Trump hired, i.e., Paula White.
Yeah,
Is she a
she's in that.
no-hide? He asks.
Well, she is friends with Israel 365, who are a bunch of Noahide Jews, and um, she believes that Christians shouldn't convert Jews but learn from them. She fasts on Yom Kippur. She does a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, a lot of people were upset that he chose her. A lot of people view her, a lot of Christians view her as like this kind of like sleazy, you know, con woman, like I think she's into that name it and claim it, right? You ever hear of name it and claim it?
I'm not sure what that means.
Name it and claim it is like, oh, all you need to do is say like, I'm gonna get the money and it comes. Let's see if Paula White is name it and claim it. Paula White name
From the
it
prosperity
and
gospel.
claim. Yes, prosperity gospel. I just want to see 9 things you should know about prosperity gospel preacher Paula White. Let's see if it just says she's into name it and claim it. I'm looking for, I want to see if somebody specifically says that she's into that. Word of Faith movement history. I think Word of Faith movement is name it and claim it. Yeah, prosperity theology. Independent charismatic movement. Yeah, it's all these Pentecostals, charismatics that believe in name it and claim it. I mean, some of these people take name it and claim it to of just absurd levels. Like, there was these people into name it and claim it, and they got this vision to travel from Massachusetts to Maine, and they didn't pack anything. They packed no food. They packed no water. They had no money. They just thought that God would just provide for them.
And then what happened?
I think that they got in trouble. I think that, I think that it fell through for them and they had to go back to Massachusetts, back to their houses, which hopefully they didn't sell off or something like that. That was a big problem with Seventh-day Adventists and Jehovah's Witnesses. They thought the end of the world was coming and they would just sell off their property, sell off their houses, not sow their crops. They just let their lives just go. I mean, that's a lot of reason why people don't like Jehovah's Witnesses, because it actually used to be worse than it is today. It used to be because, I mean, they used to preach end times dates, that it was happening in 5 years, the end was definitely going to be here. People would just give up their lives and go out into the preaching ministry and live in their cars, in order to preach the message. People would just give up practical life altogether. And so a lot of people hated them for that, because there was a lot of people who got destitute from those prophecies. That, a lot of people didn't sow their crops, didn't, sold off all of their animals, sold off all their assets, closed their stores, used up all their savings in order to go out and preach. Yeah, she's name it and claim it. Yeah, she is. Oh, Paula White Ministries.
Yeah, it's called the White House Faith Office now, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, I suppose that there's big money for some people in religion anyway, if they play their cards right. And I suppose it helps if you're the mainstream kind of Christian.
Name it and claim it is also known as blab it and grab it. Blab it and grab it.
That's quite fun.
Yeah, that's
so yeah.
Yeah, that is low. But yeah, that's what she's involved in. And I don't know if she speaks in tongues too or something like that.
I watched a few of her Sunday performances. She gets her husband to play the piano, right? And then she
I saw that.
Things. But I mean, I've noticed also lately that a lot of people are using the brand of Christianity to promote their, thing. So I know that Paul Vanderklay, who is this wannabe Jordan Peterson YouTuber, is in London promoting something called the ARC, which is associated with Jordan Peterson. It's called So it means Alliance for Responsible Citizens.
Oh,
Uh,
God.
I know, and the thing it's sort of it's really mysterious, and it's by invitation only, and I've noticed that these things, these by invitation only meetings, conventions, gatherings, are basically um, there to make sure that no Muslim turns out because they want to say things about Muslims, right? And it's all about saying mean things about Muslims, but and never inviting them in case they get upset. so so they've got this big fat convention at the Excel Centre in London, and today's the third day, and I only found this out through Jacob Farturecci, who just happened to catch Paul Vanderklay streaming live from London at 5 a.m. in the morning, my time. So it was really early, and he was saying he was jet lagged, and the idea was he was going to go really early for breakfast because he was so sick and tired of talking to people, and how tiring it was, and how he wasn't given the facilities to work his magic because he's an old guy and the noise levels were too big, and he couldn't project his personality because it was too big, and he was happier with cozier, um, setups where you could read the room and talk to everyone and make them kind of feel listened to, and that's how he works best. And he basically went on and on like that. And then I looked up who the ARC people are, and it's basically the neocons, stirring up hatred against your president, I'm afraid, as well as Muslims, and doing their last hurrah for you for the war in Ukraine. So that's what these people are. They're just basically using Jesus as a brand to promote their ideology. Um, to, I guess, white middle class people who still feel English, you know, which is basically what Paul Vanderklay specializes in. The Christian who struggles with his faith, the post-Christian, and the shy Trump supporter, I guess.
What? So this arc, it's like, is it like the British version of AmFest?
Well, it I don't. I think it's all over the place because I mean I know they go to Europe to get these Europeans, these Germans, ready, um, because it's basically a neocon exercise in getting traditional conservative white middle class British people who think they're still Christian to support their thing, but hating on Trump. So it's basically associated with Jordan Peterson, who I guess is active on both sides of the Atlantic. But you never heard of ARC, right?
No, I never heard of ARC, but I'm sure. Hopefully, it's a little bit more classy than AmFest is, with all the cat fights breaking out and 40-year-olds getting into brawls on the beach and stuff like that. That was pathetic.
AmFest, or do you mean AmRen?
No, AmFest.
American Renaissance.
No, AmFest, American Festival by Turning Point's Charlie Kirk.
Okay.
AmFest. AmFest 2024 with Charlie Kirk. America Fest. Yeah, it was disgusting. What's his name? Laura Loomer and Milo got into a big fight, and then this weirdo, the misfit patriot. I don't even know why he's popular. He seems like such a dumbo, but got into a physical altercation, a trashy. It wasn't even interesting to watch. It was like this 20-second fight, and it was just so lame. And I mean, these men are like 40. They're my age. You know what I mean? And they're fighting like this. And he's like, oh, so-and-so called me a bitch, so I had to stand up for my honor, blah, 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 blah. It was just like, and then later on, they were getting into fights about who won. They were all like pontificating about how they won the fight and stuff. It was horrible.
Yeah, I think you showed me a video of basically Laura Loomer just chasing after Milo.
Yes, and they got into a big fight, and it was a big problem. And you
They were
know,
told to leave, right? The
I don't know
security
if they were,
told them.
I don't know if they were told to leave. They were told to break it up. But Laura, you know, I think Laura Loomer is old news. You know, Milo is like, I don't know if you saw him. I don't, you know, he's supposedly this heterosexual now or ex-gay, and like, I mean, he has. Did you see him with the frosted long hair and everything?
No, I didn't even know he'd gone straight.
Well, no, he's ex-gay now. You didn't know that Milo's ex-gay now?
I think when he became a no-hide, was that him?
No, he's involved. He's involved with all these Catholic Noahide organizations. So, but no, he threw his sodomite wedding ring into the ocean, and yeah, he threw his sodomite wedding ring into the ocean. Declared he's no longer gay. Celebrates his no gay anniversary, and but then he still dresses gay and has like a rat's nest of bleached blonde frizzy hair.
Right, I see. He's 40 now.
Is he 40? He's my age.
Yeah, he was born in 1984.
Okay, he was born in 1984. Let me see that picture because I know him. Hold on. Let's just look that up because I want to see his hair again because I swore I saw him with cut hair. There was a period where he started dressing in boring heterosexual Christian clothing and cut his hair because he was appearing on these Christian talk shows with all flamboyant stuff and hair and sunglasses and bleached tips and all this other kind of stuff. And he even mentioned, he was like, people are telling me I gotta I gotta change up my no, he has I'm looking at him in the picture now, him and Laura Loomer. He has like, come on, where? Oh, they're not showing it there, but they're showing it in the video. He has frosted, bleached curls coming out of the back of his head, and it looks like he over bleached them. And what is he wearing? Let's just look at what he's wearing.
Yeah, I mean, he must have damaged his hair so terribly.
Yeah, no, he did. He did. And he's wearing, what is he wearing? He's wearing a cowboy hat and pearls, I thought. He was wearing pearls.
I remember pearls. Ridiculous.
Wait, hold on, wait. Yeah, he's wearing, hold on, wait. I'm trying to find these pearls again. And he's waving his hand. And, okay, he's in a suit. He's in sunglasses at night. But you could see he has bleached blonde raggedy hair, and and he's wearing pearls. I see the pearls. He's wearing pearls.
I see.
Yes, he's wearing pearls. I see them, or what look like pearls. Yeah, they're pearls. That's a pearl necklace that he's wearing.
Okay, can you share so we can well, the others can see it?
Oh, I'm not on my computer.
Okay, never mind.
I can share the link to you.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
It might be hard to see his pearls.
Mm-hmm.
But if you play it on the screen, hold on, I'm going to send it to you in Telegram, okay?
Yeah.
I don't know if you'll be able to hear the whole thing if you play a YouTube video through, isn't there a way to play a YouTube video through StreamYard so that you can hear it
Yes,
really
yes.
well.
That's what's so nice about YouTube, as opposed to Spaces, when you can't do this sort of thing, right?
Yeah. I don't know if you want to watch their argument or whatever, but you can see I was looking at it. It's definitely pearls. It's definitely pearls. I'm trying to get a better. There he is. Let's see. It looks like pearls, unless it's a rosary. But that looks too big to be a rosary to me. And usually people don't wear rosaries around their neck. You know, it's not.
Yeah,
It looks like
we could
pearls.
just sort of let it play as we speak.
I don't know if you want to hear what they had to say. It was quite funny.
Okay. Let me see if I'm doing it properly. Okay.
Claire?
Going forward, since it's take over the world. You have followers from free, okay? And don't talk shit about me online and then run and hide in their
Oh no, what's happening?
I'm not interested in you, which is.
Am I not displaying it properly?
Okay, you don't have any puppy there. You're a fucking piece of shit. You're a liar. Okay, and you want to talk about how it's not fuck,
That was what got me through my last weekend here. I didn't
far back to yourself. Because I want to call you out.
If you cared about yourself and others, you would check yourself in somewhere. You would check yourself in somewhere.
You're jealous because your life has been canceled.
You need to check yourself in. You need to check yourself in. You need medication.
I don't think that it's.
Oh, you do. Honey, I've seen you at bedside cabinet. And we all know you on drugs, okay? You're on every fucking antipsychotic. They got a name for it.
If you and I were to see the drug test right now, I would have flying colors and you would probably have cocaine and methamphetamine in your system. You're going to die from a fentanyl overdose, okay? That's what's going to happen to you. You're such a miserable piece of shit, and your sorrows are going to bring you to the grave.
I'm happy for you to have that gift when the day goes.
That's what's going to happen.
But in the meantime, I win.
Goodbye. Oh, yeah, you get it.
These guys are. That means, yeah. You should ask him to choose. You might not like those.
How about you? How about you?
You should really consider very carefully.
All you want to do is talk, get online, and then you want to.
But
then you want
the
to,
movement.
Then you're not going to do anything.
You have
Right, like if you walk and drug addicts like in my life.
you are in a situation now where you can only hurt and you can't help it. Because you are.
Like you?
Because you are.
Like you, Milo? Like you? Like you?
I guess you learn from the best.
Pretending not to be gay so that you can stay in this country or not even here legally.
From the woman who can't draw Star David, you want to talk about pretending?
Not even here legally, Milo. What are you gonna do, Milo?
Why don't we make
pretending not to be gay?
I'm the moderator. I'm the moderator. Okay, guys.
Married to an American, you stupid cunt.
Oh, so you are still gay. You are still gay.
Are you guys interested in making peace?
You just admitted it. Everything you do is a fucking grift.
Are you guys open to making peace?
So you understand that a marriage not being united, so it's not the same thing as practicing homosexuality. You get that, right?
You're always going to be gay, Milo. You can't trade the gay away, okay? You like to cry about how a priest molested you. I'm gay because a priest raped me. You're not degenerate homosexual loser, and that's what you're going to be till the day you die.
And I'm still meeting you.
No, you're not. You're not. You're such a coward. You're hiding behind a fucking garbage can. Fucking shit about me online. Yeah, you were hiding behind a garbage can. Oh, yeah.
You know, the period where you could just say things and people would assume that you were not lying.
You're a liar, Milo. Everything that you wrote about me is a complete lie.
No,
everything that you said. You said I was banned from Mar-a-Lago. Dinner.
You should
I
really.
was at Mar-a-Lago 2 weeks ago. I was at Mar-a-Lago dinner 2 weeks ago, Milo. So what about this story that you're
you know what
lied?
You know what you were told.
What was
you know
I
you
told? What was I told?
You know you shouldn't have been.
I wasn't told anything.
The family doesn't want you there. The family doesn't want you anywhere near him.
That's not true, Milo. You are a liar, Milo. You're jealous because you have never been able to recover from being canceled. Maybe if you went to rehab and got rid of your drug addiction, you would actually be able to, get your life
The
back.
thing that ruined your life, boasting about it happening to somebody else, tells me that you're just trying to hurt
What
me.
ruined what? No, I don't need to hurt you. You hurt yourself, Milo. Everybody who sees you knows that you're just a walking, drug overdose waiting to happen.
Well, if that's the case, you don't need to tell me, so we're done.
Well, I think I do need to tell you. Someone needs to tell you the truth, Milo. You're just a loser. You're a degenerate. And someday, that's what's going to happen.
Why are we having civil war? We just won the war.
You hate yourself so much, Milo, that you have to spend your time lying about other people online.
Please get a doctor. Go see a psychiatrist. Get medication.
You need
Stop
medication.
turning your psychological issues.
You need to
into
get
problems for
serious
everyone else,
help.
okay?
You need to get serious
You
help.
can't take yourself out.
You need to get serious help, Milo. All you do is lash out on other people on the internet, and then when they confront you, you try to deflect and call them crazy.
No, I'm not deflecting. You are
I'm not the one to
You're
lie
insane.
about online, Milo. You're going to talk shit about me online. You're going to hear it face to face, okay?
I will say it whenever I want to say it. I'm not going to stop.
You're not going to stop. Yeah, you're not going to stop.
And it's-
I'm going to continue too.
I just feel compassion for you. Honestly.
I don't feel any compassion for you.
James wants to be here. He does not want any problems. James sent me notes.
She approached me.
No, listen.
If you could deal with the guests with problems with them,
No, listen.
since you're making our host feel uncomfortable, maybe you could leave.
Yeah, he's going to make me
Okay,
leave,
listen.
right? Yeah.
Listen. It's either we all get along and we have a good night, or nobody can be here.
She approached me. I've
I
been trying to have
understand.
a conversation from
I
them.
understand this is the rule. This is coming
I'm
from
trying
James
to get away
upstairs.
from her. Please, just make her go away.
Just go away.
One goes upstairs, one goes downstairs.
I will be downstairs.
All right, go.
Right.
Let's go upstairs. Come on.
You're dismissed. Goodbye.
Come upstairs.
Bye, Milo.
You guys are brilliant people.
Everybody see what a drug addict you are, Milo.
You got a wristband?
Do it again, Milo, and watch what happens, Milo. Do it again and watch what happens. Watch what happens, Milo.
Well, that was quite funny.
Were you able to hear the whole thing?
Yes. Weren't you?
A little bit. It was a little bit difficult for me to hear, but I got it. But I had already watched that. And yeah, I mean that and the fight on the beach. You know, I don't know if this ARC people, what they're like, but if they're British, I hope they have a little bit more class than AmFest. And I don't understand, all these anti-Semites showed up at AmFest and got pictures with everybody.
Oh.
Yeah,
So,
like Jake
are they not
Shields.
supposed to be anti-Semites?
Well, there's not supposed to be anti-Semites at AmFest. No,
Okay.
not at AmFest.
Because I keep confusing them with Amren.
No,
Oh,
yeah.
but actually, Amren isn't anti-Semitic either, because that's what Jared Taylor and E. Michael Jones disagree about. because Jared Taylor wants to say I want to attack black people but not Jews, and E. Michael Jones says I'm going to attack Jews but I'm not going to acknowledge racial differences. So that's their area of disagreement. Now, what was I going to show you? Oh, yes, I think you might just want to watch a little bit of this Paul van der Clay thing, because
Okay.
Because I sort of want to know what you think about it. Did you know who I mean? Have I meant? I'm sure I've mentioned him.
Yeah,
to you
you've
before.
mentioned the isn't he Calvinist?
Yes, and he's in London, and there is this sort of big meeting, and somebody's just sort of mentioned that there's some after conference party where people are going to let their hair down, party with each other, and it's tonight, but I'm not going. But they basically got what's his name, Neil Ferguson, who I think works at Princeton. He's this neocon basically, and his wife Ayaan Hirsi Ali. But you may be interested to see what he says about it, which is basically him complaining at 5 o'clock in the morning about how terrible the whole thing was. Right, now I can start playing it. Right. Oh, it's gone quiet. I don't know what's happening.
Okay, I'm gonna put myself on mute. There it is.
I have to close down some windows, I guess. It's not. I don't have enough bandwidth or something, because it's just gone black, and it's not playing. Let me refresh the screen then. Okay. It's doing it now.
Good morning.
Okay, forget the branding. Let's go into the whinging.
That's Paul van der Clay.
Now that's let me things, because what I'm about to say is going to sound very critical, and I have critiques and criticisms. I
That's
feel
him, yes.
very much on the same page as what I want to see happen in the culture in the country. So in a lot of ways, they are my people, which sort of makes the critiques and criticisms that I'll have all the more poignant, especially for me, because I have to take them into myself. That Tornberg place talked about lions and foxes, and I've thought a lot about this dynamic over the last couple of years.
Hello?
So in order for not just, we hear this always from founding fathers, that
yes,
the United States required
is it boring?
a religiously devout,
No, it was
or at least
it was going in and out, but I'm
religiously
listening.
formed, popular.
Oh, okay. Shall I just let it run for a while? You tell me when you get bored. But I mean, Okay, I thought some of it was very interesting, but you may
Well,
disagree. But
go
I'll
ahead.
play
It
it.
was
But you know,
it was
let me
just
know
it
when
was
you want.
going in and out. It was going in and out is all I was trying to say. But I'm listening.
List or democracy to work, and I think that's correct. But it isn't just Christian formation and the way that it works in the world. It's also a degree of harmony between the religion that produces a civilization and how well that civilization will function politically. Because obviously, if there is the tension between the religious substrata, which is always, and the political edifice, which is now an attempt to implement the religious vision of the idea. Those things that are embedded in religious assumptions need to be pursued in by political means. Now, this is again why I've long had this critique of the left's coining of the attempt to alienate and marginalize dread Christian nationalism, because what is a lie about that move is that in almost every way, those who are screaming Christian nationalists are themselves pursuing their own religious vision, the good in society. And the beginning of the Trump administration has been a classic example of that, because in many ways the state is their god, and they have had political hegemony, and a chaos monster has come into the White House and has been thrashing around destroying things. Now, as I said early on, it is not that the American people don't love their country or their government. They might have critiques and criticisms about their country and their government, but their government does a great deal of things that they love, such as Social Security and Medicare. These social safety nets in Europe and the United States did not arise out of nothing. In many ways, they inherited the religious vision of Christianity in terms of well-being and stability, and all of the vision that comes out of the monastery and of Christianity and of its struggle all the way back to the early days of the Roman Empire. And the poor should be cared for by the government. The United States should be Christ-like in terms of its foreign policy, even though that's mostly kayfabe. Even though Donald Trump and J.D. Vance like to say America should come first now, that's much more a shift in rhetoric than a shift in policy. America has long expressed its self-interest in its foreign and domestic policy, because what the politicians do is to satisfy the people, and the formation of the people is their religious formation in terms of the ideals and what they consider to be good and right to do. So when we see what's happening in the Trump-Vance administration, what we're seeing is the outworking of the evolution of a combination of the true religion beneath the scenes and how that's working. At some point, I don't know, maybe I'll have Cassidy, because I'm gonna have a little bit of time in the Netherlands besides just the dinners and the meetings. Maybe I'll have some back and forth to unpack, or maybe I should just bring Marcus on and maybe just do a live stream or do a collective from some of the groups of people. So we had a really nice group of people, estuary people in Ireland. And now for the second time that I've done estuary in Ireland, I've heard not just from like the hardcore people who travel to Galway to do this, but from the people of Ireland, just that we do the estuary thing. They're like, oh, we're not doing this at all in our culture. So the speed of cultural change, I heard that from many people that I met at the Irish event. So United States, the speed of change has not been as great, but it has been significantly great. And again, I point to the work of Aaron Wren. I think he's one of the best people to listen to on these topics, because I think Wren sees it most fairly and most clearly when he talks about Donald Trump being the first Christian, the first president of post-Christian America. Wren rightly notes that and I was also talking to Rafe Kelly. Rafe is here again this time, and spending a lot of time with Rafe. And Rafe's not only in touch with sort of the physical aspect of things, but Rafe is also thinking all the times about politics and religion and how this fits together, as Rafe continues to sort of lean into Christianity and try to figure out how Christianity can be integrated into his life and integrated into his own evolution of political thought. Okay, ARC in general. Let's talk about the good now, or let's talk about some changes. This year, one of the big changes is they have 4,000 people here instead of 1,500 people here. It requires a change of venue. So we're in the XL Center. It's a massive facility, and it's sized appropriately for this event, maybe even more appropriately than the last venue was sized for their event. But the last venue was nicer in terms of, as Rafe Kelly, I'll probably do a post-ARC conversation with Rafe Kelly after we get back and the dust settles and we have time to really absorb things. Rafe Kelly noted to me a number of times that, the aesthetics were better in the last meeting. The degree to which they could pursue conviviality was better at the last meeting. Right now, you have to go through this long mall in the Excel Center to get into the space. And once you get through security and the coat check and all of that stuff, you go downstairs and there's a big, massive meeting room. And a lot of the room, if not most of the room, is taken up by vendors who have their areas there where they are pursuing whatever it is. And again, most of these vendors, Unheard as a booth. Here, Justin Brierley has a booth. I have to look for him tomorrow. But this is like shooting fish in a barrel for Justin Brierley. I was shocked last time when Justin Brierley was not at ARC. I'm already hoarse because all I do all day is talk. So that's going to be a struggle. But that big, massive room where you have sort of everyone, the media channels and those kinds of things is loud. And, if you're my age, I don't wear hearing aids or anything. My hearing is fine, appropriate to my age, but everybody just starts to talk louder so you can talk over the din. And Rafe Kelly notes, check out the lighting in these rooms. It's what you're dealing with is a big convention center. And so it's not different from, let's say, this Holiday Inn Express hotel room that I'm in, where it's very generic. It's not convivial. They do have some chairs around, and so I have a meeting area, which is lovely, right near my English friends, John Lumgar. You can look at and his brother. So it's great to get in touch with them again. And I've got a meeting space there where I've sort of, to the best that I could, telegraphed. It's not Power Crystals, jerky, or timeshares, and it's not what's that thing that Rogan would always sell? No, it's Unheard, and it's the kinds of it's the kinds of media like GB TV in Great Britain again is a big booth again. So, but it's the money changers in the temple. And again, the money changers had a really important function. They were in the temple, which makes the Jesus overturning the tables a super complex thing that, again, pastors can continue to chew on. The conversation about Jesus in Galway was outstanding. And again, hopefully I'll get that recording. But the room is loud. And they're using a corner of that room with big speakers sort of as overflow for what's going on in the main plenary session presentation room, which is you've got some tables in front like they did last time, and then massive chairs. But the percentage of people that can sit at tables and the percentage of people that can sit in the stands, sort of theater seating, is very different. And again, that's a function of going from 1,500 to 4,000. And it just intensifies the presentational priority of the conference, which again continues to be my big critique from last, wearing their white arc, they're wearing their white arc jackets into the conference area to rouse the people and get them into the big thing so our planned programming can commence. And again, I'm not really critiquing. I only did 2 of the plenary sessions because I've learned from last time, if you sit in that room and it's just like, it's a little much. And we'll talk a little bit about, again, some of what's going on in terms of the presentation, at least the ones that I have seen. And many of you can watch the presentations because they are professionally recorded and professionally sound. And so you can see the presentations that they give. The huge reason to come to this conference are the people. Like I said, for Justin Brierley, this is shooting fish in the barrel. Got to hang out a little bit with Glenn Scrivener yesterday. He's here. Seabax, of course, is here. Rafe Kelly is here. Benjamin Boyce is here this time. Politically, they've probably shifted more to the right, and I think that's allowed by the vibe change. And I wonder if, like, Peter Boghossian isn't here, which surprised me. So there's a bunch of, oh, I get a sneeze. Maybe I'll play some branding while I sneeze. Hang on, I won't play the whole branding, but I do got to sneeze. And that worked out well. That way you don't have to see me sneeze on the computer. I didn't bring any allergy medication because I thought, why? Central Valley's allergy central, but a little bit of allergy going on here. So the huge value, and again, I want my critiques to be heard in the light of there's no other thing you can go to if you're into the corner and into sort of this internet space than this conference. There's nothing else like it. I suppose there are conservative conferences in America that politically would hit some of it, but in terms of Jordan Peterson, Jonathan Peugeot, Rafe Kelly, myself, this is central. Bethel McGrew is here this year. James Orr, if you're a fan of the Jordan Peterson Gospel Seminar. Oz Guinness is here. So there is nothing like this. And if you're really deep into wanting to get involved in this thing, this is ground central. You can have the conversations that are tough to have anywhere else, at least en masse and in scale like this. That being said, I think perhaps the percentage of people from let's say it's a look at Jordan Peterson's channel. Those who watch all the political stuff and the culture war stuff versus those who watch the religious stuff. I'd say those who watch the religious stuff has sort of shrunk compared to the political, at least represented here. And Rafe Kelly said something super interesting to me. He said, when you look at least in terms of our interest, obviously Jonathan Peugeot is member of the advisory board, and Jonathan has done a great job in getting his people here, of which I include myself. The Dirt Poor Robins are playing music here. So Peugeot has a significant footprint here. But yet, let's say the Vervaeke corner of the Peterson sphere isn't terribly represented. And Rafe said to me, and I think Rafe was dead on right, there probably isn't a critique partner, and at least in Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson's definition, Genesis 1 helpmeet, than John Vervaeke. And I think John Vervaeke's addition to the gospel seminar is, in my opinion, one of the best upgrades from the Exodus seminar to the gospel seminar, because John Vervaeke has a way. He and Jordan know each other, they trust each other, they respect each other, but yet there's enough critique that came out in the AI interview panel, the AI section of yesterday's plenary sessions, which I did attend. And I'll have to talk about that. It's a good thing I got up early, because I can spend 2-3 hours talking about this today. And I don't have 2-3 hours because I'm an up early and get a big breakfast guy. And I usually don't eat throughout the rest of the day with something like this, because I'm there to talk to people. I'm not there to eat. I'm not there to listen. Jordan Hall is my hero. Jordan Hall, I talked to him. He said, I'm going to 0 of the plenary sessions. And I talked to another mutual friend of ours who was at the Symbolic World Summit. And he said, yeah, Jordan didn't go to any of the plenary sessions at the Symbolic World Seminar either. Jordan Hall is laser focused on what this space has to offer, which are the people that are here. And so again, there is no other place you can go like this here for this. It is hugely important for this movement and the corner. But they make it really hard to prioritize that value here. And if anything, it's harder and worse this year than last year. Why? Because I think what they want to do is make this influential and successful. And one of the ways that you do that is numerical growth. And so last year was 1,500. This year is 4,000. Next time, which is already announced, June of 2026, here in London, I would imagine they want to go to 8,000 or 10,000. But size changes things. It always does. And when you go up in size, you have to prioritize certain things. So during the day, you have all these plenary sessions, and then you have substantially large coffee breaks, which you have to have if you're going to move that many people. And those are good. And again, they have good hors d'oeuvres, but the space isn't convivial for this kind of thing. And then in the evening, they have a reception. And even before the reception, they announced, well, this is because what's so important here is for all of you to network and do all of this. And then you go into the reception, and what do? They try to talk at you again. I was furious. I said, this is why I don't drink. I would throw my glass. You need that. It would be an American. Roadhouse where they'd need to have, like the wire around the stage because everybody's throwing their beer bottles. It's like, finally, this is the space that you're supposed to give people to get together, and you're talking, and then everybody's like, shh, shh, shh. And it's like, no. And you get into a room, and it's just a room covered by curtains, and there's no place to sit, and it's flat on the floor, and there's nothing to absorb the sound. And it's like, goodness gracious. It's a performative assertion that you have drawn some of the, at least for your corner of interest, some of the most capable, most experienced, wisest people for the movement you wish to facilitate with this event. And there's no other event like it. And what, in my opinion, is the main opportunity of this event, by how you host this, you make it nearly impossible to fulfill. So that's why I'll put a link below of a little live blog that I'm doing, where my goal is to host estuary conversations. Because, okay, so what networking looks like at a conference like this is standing around in a huddle of 2 or 3, talking to people. But because human beings are very status conscious, and this conference in some ways really elevates the status dynamic, because what happens, and I've been to political things because I live in a political town, and many of my people work in a very political space, what tends to happen is you're sitting there talking to someone, but you're always scanning, you're looking for a bigger name, you're looking for a celebrity. Because if you come to this conference and you're a low status person, because of course, there's sort of the gold room where the presenters are, and they're not being herded into the plenary sessions. They don't watch the plenary sessions. I know what it's like to be on the other side of the stage. You're there to give the show, but you're in the green room relaxing, and you're chatting with all the higher status people, and there's not a noise back that. In other words, for the elites of a conference like this, they get to do what all of us in the lower status area really need to do. And it's set up for them that way, but it's not set up for us that way. So, where was I going with this? So yeah, what happens, the dynamics of something like this is you're talking to something, but this is so hard to do, so hard to stop from doing. Your eyes are always seeing way more than consciously you're looking at. And if a high status person walks out there, bang, attention goes to the high status person. And so, in the words of a friend of mine who works in California politics, like if I don't take his call, he's always like, you had a bigger name, right? Because that is environment. And so what that means is that even the conversations that you're having out there in the hall, that is not facilitating conversation. You're just scanning for a bigger name. So then when Eric Weinstein, who to his credit is often out there among the people, that is one thing I really appreciate Eric Weinstein for. He doesn't hide in the green room. Eric gets out there and he mixes it up and he talks to normies and he's very accessible. But Eric Weinstein walks by and all eyes go to him. Ooh, because this is a very natural dynamic. People have watched Eric Weinstein. He's on a big channel. He's on TV stations. And so you come to an event like this out of the hope of maybe having some meaningful contact with the gods of this arena. And that, again, means that even the networking that you can do at a conference like this is inhibited, not just by the din of the noise, not just by the fact that they are piping in the noise from the plenary sessions, even when you've decided to skip them. Not just that, the main portion of the hall is filled with the money changers of the temple, but because just naturally everyone's scanning for a status upgrade. And it's really hard to resist. So even the conversations that you're having, which are good, are not being facilitated. So this morning at 11:30 and at 1:30, I'm going to be organizing people into estuary pods. And I don't have a good space to do it. And I'm furious about it because how much would it take? How freaking much would it take? And if we had a space that was quiet and isolated, a breakout room where 6 to 10 people of these extraordinary people that are here, I meet the most extraordinary people here. That is why you come to this event. And they are brimming with experience and ideas, and there's a degree of an alignment. Are there any beautiful women at our conference? Yes, there are. Partly because this is a political thing, and whereas it's the old dogs that get on TV from politics, it's the old men. Politics is staffed by up and coming, often beautiful young men and women. So yeah, there are many beautiful women here. So and the reality between old men politicians and young, attractive women who are starting to climb the scale, that's a big deal. Just ask Andrew Cuomo about how that works. Anyway. So the message I would have given to them, and the message I did give in terms of feedback to last year's art conference, completely ignored. breakout rooms that are convivial, that are gezellig, for those of you who know the Dutch, that 6 to 10 people can come, and then so you're setting up little green rooms. In a way, yeah, but just ask the people to cycle through. And see, Estuary does this. And the people themselves who are in those rooms don't know what they have to offer the other people. I explained to, so Andy Wilkins was on the channel last year. He was here. He tries to make healthcare more humane. And I did a video where I compared him and Jordan Hall. And I had Andy Wilkins, and Jordan Hall was right over there and was like, oh, you two need to talk. And so I took them and I brought them together. And they had a wonderful conversation. I get emails from corporations that want me to pause, and here I'm going to talk about such and such a corporation or Action Water Sports. I hope I never have to do that. So today, 2 estuary sessions, one at 11:30 and one at 1:30, and I put them around the plenary sessions that I myself want to go to, because I think it is important for me to get into the plenary sessions, because they are important too. And I'll talk about the plenary sessions in a minute. But please, 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 you have to ask yourself, okay, what is the goal of ARC? What do you want to accomplish? I think what they want to do is support and resource leadership development in the broader culture towards the ends which they identify. But nothing that they are doing here besides the basic networking, which is the main reason to be here, and it's substantial, and there's nothing else like it. That is the truly great accomplishment that they have pulled up with ARC. They are not trying to facilitate it at all. Or, no, I think they are trying to facilitate it, but they're doing so many things against what they want to do. And remember that comment on the Jordan Peterson, Spencer Clavin video on the Daily Wire that Bethel McGrew sent to me, and I've talked about it a few times, where this guy is like watching this rich conversation between Jordan and Spencer Clavin, and the only access he has to that world is leaving a comment, and he says, I feel like I'm sitting outside a lavish restaurant, I'll embellish it a little bit, in the developing world, and I'm the poor kid with his nose against the glass. In some ways, ARC is like that, because I look around, and fortunately now, because of the channel, because I have a network of people now, because we have developed this little corner of the internet, which is not just presentational, but is participatory, people will come to me and say, you need to talk to this person. And so John Lumgar connected me with Daniel Strange, who teaches at the seminary that Glenn Scrivener went to, and John Lumgar, who knows a lot of people, connected me with Daniel Strange, and we started talking for a minute. It takes a few minutes to sort of find each other, and then it was, what he is doing academically fits so well with both my Dutch Calvinism and what we're doing in the corner, that I'm going to have him on the channel. And the more we connected, the more excited both of us got, because it was the whole business of finding each other. Yes, my sister. How come I'm not sleeping? It's called jet lag. And it's not uncommon that I wake up at this time in the morning. I usually I'm in bed with my wife, so I just stay quiet. I might listen to a podcast. I might pray. I might think about a sermon. I do all those things usually. But here it's like, I'm not going to get any time of day to talk about this. I didn't have time last night or energy to make a video. So I'm freshest here. That's right. I get up early, eat a big breakfast. Yes, exactly. Now, John Paul, I know who you are. you asked the question during the legendary Genesis series. You had one of the key questions during that whole series. I know who you are. And that's, again, the benefit of the corner. Yes, my sister loves me. And that's right. That's exactly right, Yosef. And so I am, in fact, running estuary side stream at ARC. That is what I am doing. And yesterday I was unsure because, this is how I got into YouTube. I stick my big nose into their business, and Jordan Peterson. And last year at ARC, it was funny because both for Brett Weinstein and Eric Weinstein, I was sort of in this one smaller gathering, and they saw me. At first they looked as if, oh, it's a familiar face. This was just biologically you look, and it's like, but then they realized, oh, this is that really annoying guy who does commentary and critique on our videos and isn't always positive. And they were very gracious about it. They're lovely people. But it's, as I was saying to John Hares, I said, it's like the kid who, and he said, yeah, I exactly have this. The kid who grabs your leg thinking that you're their mom or their dad, and then looks up to realize you're not. That was the experience with Brett and Heather and Eric. And Eric had things to say. But again, what I love about Eric practices what he preaches with respect to this stuff. Eric is down there at the floor, meeting the normies, having the conversation. And Jordan would be too. Jordan is astoundingly good at that. You can see that at his events. But of course, Jordan, hierarchy's bind and blind, and he's gotten to a position where he's considerably less free with this stuff. But so we sit outside with our nose pressed against the glass at the smorgasbord of networking. And it's like, you're doing everything possible to not allow us to do the one thing that this could uniquely do better than anything else. Please stop. Turn off the noise. Give us a quiet space. Give us chairs to sit in. Have at least some degree of facilitation. And none of it would be perfect, which is why, as I said to Andy Wilkins, who works in healthcare, which I said, why doctors don't heal the body. They create the arena whereby the body can heal. ARC needs to have big speeches, but they need to do better at that. ARC needs to have big speeches and a big platform, and to bring in the lights, the stars, to attract the people. My conversation with Malcolm Collins. So I'm standing there. Me and Rafe Kelly have left the din of the supposed reception where we're networking. Rafe Kelly was also furious, and he was furious. He's like, look at this environment. Look at the lighting. This is totally unhuman. So me and Rafe Kelly were just, we're ramping up with respect to this, and CBAX is right there. So we move out of there into a quieter, also less humane environment to do our mutual complaining. And Malcolm comes out of the room. And of course, you can't miss Malcolm, the glasses. And we saw each other, and come on over here. Malcolm's critique, which Rafe has his critique, and then Rafe and Malcolm weren't exactly on the same page with respect to their critique. And I didn't have to say anything about it because I am not a political animal in the way that these guys are, because they know all the different tribes and all of that stuff. And Malcolm's critique was devastating. He said, you have the safer and often lesser lights on stage. And this is, and actually Malcolm disagreed with Rafe, but I think Rafe's critique was actually true, because Rafe said, this is covering up the fissures in this new right-wing consensus that toppled the cathedral. And Malcolm basically pointed out that you've got some serious lights in this room with respect to that counterculture movement, who are not on stage, and they're not on stage because they're politically difficult. And of course, Malcolm is Malcolm. Then Malcolm and I proceeded with Neil from Dortport Robbins to have very interesting conversations about. Malcolm says that My channel and his channel have about the most overlap that he and Simone have with their channel. But what none of the Orthodox watch his channel. The commonality between my channel and Malcolm's channel are Mormons and Catholics, which is really interesting. But the Ortho Bros don't. Neil had never seen Malcolm, didn't know who Malcolm was. Fascinating. And again, these kinds of interactions, you can do them no place but here. And what I'm afraid of is that I think ARC came out of the gate October of 2023, gathered the people that they needed. They want to expand it to 4,000. That's helpful because it adds more room for Marcus, for more Christ, and Seabax, and Andy Wilkins, and a whole bunch of people that are here but weren't at the last one. So in that sense, the networking is richer because it's larger. But some of the dissident lights, well, that's not true. The group has shifted. It's been able to sort of shift to the right because it can, partly because of the Trump election. So it's fascinating. Plenary sessions. So I don't know, I might get caught by this rave again, but I went to two. I went to the opening one because opening words are important. I thought the speech given by, it's just my bias of the aspect of this I'm most interested in because I am a minority here. The most interesting part of this movement is the religious movement for me, not the political. I thought the speech given by the Secretary of the House, it's a good speech. It's a really good speech. I'm going to have something to say about a couple other speeches at some point, but I want to do that when I can play a bit of the speech and talk about it. I didn't know the new head of the Conservative Party in the UK. She gave quite a speech. She is a woman of African descent who, may very well be the Prime Minister of England at some point. She gave quite a speech. And I thought what she really nailed, it was really a very good speech. I mean, this is why it's kind of good to do this after a day. Because I thought she really nailed, she said, this is not so much a crisis of values, because there is a large degree of consensus between left and right in the West. This is a crisis of confidence. And that gets back to last year's video about lions versus foxes. And so again, this conference is all about the return of the lion, or they want to be the return of the lion, but they're sort of a bobcat size thing. And now bobcats are bigger than foxes, or maybe they're coyote. They're not really quite wolf size, but again, wolf is sort of the wrong symbolic resonance. So everything I said in last year's critique still holds with this critique. The best session, the best section of the morning was a panel discussion. The Archbishop of the Coptic Church in England. Oh. Again, the value of something like this is you can introduce someone to the world who should be introduced. And so the conservative member of MP, conservative MP for the head of the Conservative Party here, I'm glad to have heard her. The Archbishop, the Coptic Archbishop in London, really good. Another woman, that whole panel I loved. But as Rafe Kelly said to me, he said, there's no time in those panel discussions to actually really get, all you get is sound bites. So, and this is for most of us in this room who are conditioned now to 2, 3, 4 hour podcasts and YouTube. And you have these tiny little panel discussions. So they're like hors d'oeuvres. When when you come to something like this, you really want a meal. In the other session, so they had Peter Thiel in virtually, and it was kind of like we got going here. But this is a early morning hotel room live stream. Peter Thiel is one of the more important voices of this generation, whatever you think of his politics. And is AI, I mean, if you're going to really try to get into the AI questions, is Peter Thiel the person? Now, he started out with his strength because he talked about all of the kinds of topics that he's really good on. He talked about decadence and talked about stagnation. And so that is connected to AI. The better section of that was Mary Harrington and Jonathan Peugeot, who I thought both did very, very well. And Mary Harrington, well, I love both Mary Harrington and Jonathan Peugeot, so I thought they did very, very well. The topic of AI is a huge and hugely important topic. One that it's sort of like trying to have a conversation at the beginning of the 20th century about the automobile. The beginning of the 20th century, they had no idea of how the automobile would change the world. At this point, we have no idea how AI is going to change the world. I think we're probably, I don't know how frightened people were of the automobile. I'm sure there are plenty of detractors at the beginning of the 20th century with respect to the automobile. And I'm sure many of their fears were realized. But there were all sorts of consequences, positive and negative, that none of them could imagine. And that's where we are with respect to AI. Hugely important topic. And of course, I think Mary and Jonathan Peugeot are two of the better voices. But as one of the real interesting moments of this political sea change that we are living through, and Rafe Kelly articulated this very, very well to someone who kind of dismissed him. What does it say that your coalition is made up of transhumanists and ancient religious people? And so that's why you've got Jonathan Peugeot and Mary Harrington, who are on stage saying, this transhumanism thing, you better be super careful with that. It is in many ways the logical extension of the wokeism around which this political movement has found their common ground in order to resist it. But transhumanism is a further development of wokeism. It is not the alternative to wokeism. And it has everything to do with identity. And so, they had the topic right. But Peter Thiel not being in the room, it's devastating. That session ended with a really lovely presentation, a sermon, a moralistic sermon from a British woman against the developments of big tech in education. Now, there's something. Look at Apple, look at Microsoft, look at Google. Go into any school in North America, and you can see how Apple, Microsoft, and Google are selling Chromebooks and selling MacBooks and selling Surfaces and selling services, and they are really addressing the massive amounts of money that are in public education in the United States. And for the most part, it's devastating in terms of what this is doing to education. And so this woman's sermon, and it was a sermon, was right on target. I wish she had said something about homeschool. I was sitting next to Bethel McGrew for that particular session. And so Bethel was giving me a live commentary about what she thought of everything that was going through in real time. Not a word about homeschooling, which again is sort of like, and Bethel says, well, I don't think homeschooling is big in the UK. And I think that's true. But in terms of your audience, classical homeschooling, they have a booth in the vendor section. Big miss in terms of, that's a huge number of people, at least from the United States, that are into classical homeschooling education. And there's a tension between the transhumanists and the big tech trying to colonize education and say, we can educate by getting screens in front of people. And she was right. She said, get those screens away from the kids, 1 to 2 hours max for, let's say, a upper elementary kid, and no screens before the age of 12 or 13. So it was a great sermon, but then it forces me again to my major critique of, it's like my critique of Protestant churches too. Critique of myself. I'm a Protestant preacher. So you're using your time to preach to the choir, are you? You have this event every year and a half. It's a tremendously costly event. The success of this movement will depend on attracting the kinds of very competent, well-experienced people that you are drawing to this thing and having them leave here and say, wow, this was exactly what I needed. That's how you grow a movement. Satisfy the people you're looking to develop, because these people are thoroughbreds and they are hungering for more. You know, it's like Neo in the Matrix when they plug them in and they're like, how's it going to take this? It's like, give me more. That's what the people who come to ARC are like, give me more. And if you treat them like they don't have a voice, like the most, they will, like I tell people with homeschooling, say, you don't need the best curriculum. You don't need to be a super teacher yourself to homeschool. What you need to do is to create a resource-rich environment. Get rid of the poisons, the toxins in the environment, and the little animalitos in the estuary and in the tidal pools do their thing. And that's what this conference needs to do. It needs to get out of the way of the main thing that can happen here to make this a truly unique opportunity. And they are squandering it. And every year they don't learn this opportunity to feed this movement will diminish. You're not feeding this movement with 15-minute talks from people that can be found presenting their ideas better through publishing or through YouTube. That is not the kind of resourcing that an in-person event needs to have, which is why in our product placement here's my advertisement, the estuary events. Now the Midwestuary, it's going to be a lot of big stage, and there's a place for that. People are super excited to meet the people who are coming to the Midwestuary in August. But, you know, to the degree that we can with a group that size, we will have breakout and estuary sessions built into the conference. The Northwestuary Nate Hiles conference nailed it. I don't know that we will hit that again, but we're going to continue to try. And if I can get doing conferences at Living Stones regularly, the challenge is getting MIT. Yeah, that's what Chicago's about, trying to wed this. And what I want to do at Living Stones is because Living Stones is a small facility, smaller conferences between 60 and 100 people. But I'm going to try to get the people in there who will, like Eric Weinstein. Again, I don't know that Eric will ever see this, but Eric, to your credit, you are doing it right. And if I see you on the floor, I know we had our little very interesting moments last year, you and I, Eric. I am going to lead in with, I super appreciate the fact, and Jonathan too. Jonathan is out on the floor, and others too. But in terms of Jonathan, I expect this from Jonathan because Jonathan's Jonathan. Jonathan Peugeot, incredible gift to the world. I just love Jonathan, and the way Jonathan acts and what he does here. And you know, Jordan, I truly believe Jordan would love nothing better than to be out among the people, because if you've been with Jordan at places, he loves it. But you know, Jordan has bodyguards, and Jordan, you know, there's this little, as someone said, Jordan comes onto the floor, there's this little donut that follows around him, and hierarchy's bind and blind. And so the way to counteract that is you have to anticipate these, and you have to structure for it. You have to structure for it. It will not just happen because of all of the other things. You have to structure for it. And they are doing everything in the wrong direction to impede it. And I'm the kid against the glass saying, oh, it could have been so great. So, and it's, well, what do I tell people? You know, if you see something done wrong, do it right. And so that's what we're striving for with our estuary conferences and our estuary retreats and the estuary movement. Estuary movement is about creating that tidal pool where the people can come together. And so yesterday by 4:00, I never mentioned his name, but what a really integral guy to this corner who likes to stay behind the scenes, says to me, Jordan Hall is looking for you. Jordan Hall came up and he said, where's Paul Vanderklay? They wanted to do the estuary, though, during Peugeot and Mary Harrington's thing. And no, I was going to be in the plenary sessions for that. But I said, when I launched this morning, I didn't know if anybody would pick up on it or people would say, hey, oh, that's, you know, why would I sit down and do an estuary thing right now? That's Paul Vanderklay's little weird shtick. But people by the end of today were hungering for it because they'd had enough of the little impromptu, gotta keep my eye on the time, the little impromptu sidebars and, you know, always scanning for the better name. And they wanted to sit down with these amazing, valuable people in a quiet space and use the estuary protocol to say, what's on your mind? Pitch to the group. What's on your mind? What's on your mind? Oh, that idea, that's really good. That idea, that's really good. Let's bring them together and integrate and do the synthesis and come out of that estuary meeting. Come out of that estuary meeting with the valuables that I came to this conference to bring home. The relationships, the book ideas, the networking. It's driving me crazy. So I gave Seabax just that. Seabax, it was just a sample of the rant. This is the real rant. So, as I said, last year's video is still there. And Malcolm Collins was picking up on it because this, and that's what sort of I'll critique my own tradition. That's what sort of Protestant sermons do, which is why I think estuaries are so important in churches. Because in this age of social media, people won't sit quietly in their chairs. Why? They've stopped coming to church. I think part of the reason that Orthodox liturgy is doing pretty well in this moment, it is more participatory. That is why high church liturgy is coming back in a way, because it's more participatory. And watchers of screens and Protestant homiletics are saying, I want to play, I want to join, I want to have a voice, I want to participate, I have something to contribute. Please, would someone listen? That's what this little corner of the internet is all about. That maybe not 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000 people will listen to you, but 50 or 100 or 200 people will listen to you, and they'll listen to you seriously, and they'll connect with you, and they'll agree with you. And, I was talking to one person, and I said, I don't know how many years the top quality people will live in this frustration. They might grow the number bigger, but some of the really amazing people that you don't know their name and I don't know their name because they're out there working in offices and organizations, and they've developed incredible wisdom and experience, and they have ideas, and they're in alignment with this movement. They're already in alignment with it. So the signal went out, and they have gathered, and their noses are pressed up against the glass. But these are high value, high agency people. And I'll tell you, high agency people whose noses are pressed up against the glass, they will not tolerate this, because they will go back out into the world, and they will continue to do what's satisfying and meaningful and continue to help the world. But ARC as a thing of value will not be valued. And you might say, oh, Vanderklay, you're just, selling your shtick, which is estuary. And I'll say, yeah. And I don't have a problem that estuary is small. I don't have a problem that our estuary conferences don't have thousands of people. In fact, the value of the estuary conferences will be that they're small. And that's why we need to keep multiplying them and try to contain the costs, so that this is how you develop the people with agency and wisdom that creates a cultural transformative movement, which is what we keep hearing from the people on stage. We want to transform the culture. Well, then you're doing it wrong. Now, I understand, and I'm a Protestant. I understand the position of the pulpit in the 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th century to create a movement, but this is the 21st century. And if you're really going to create the movement, you have to create the farm teams and the young players. And the way to do that is not talking at them. The way to do that is the way you create any good leader. You give them responsibility. You give them something to do. You let them fail, but you're alongside, and then you help them do the thinking and the facilitation to develop. That's how you create leaders. You don't create them by talking at them. The educational and university systems are bankrupt because they're still way too Protestant. We just talk everyone to death. Here I'm on YouTube talking you to death. I even dropped the link. Gosh. We start a little later. I want to go to breakfast early, because in a hotel, the best breakfast is early. So I don't know if I'll have to, but I got to drop the link. I got to practice what I preach. So, I'm dropping the link. I probably don't have to pin it, because I can't do it that long. So I certainly will, Rick. And again, I mean, the ARC people, I think probably via Jonathan's show, have been very good to me. Oh, Grim Grizz is real.
Morning, Paul. Morning,
Yeah,
Paul.
early morning for me, late night for you. Not late night.
I am setting up the stream to my stream. So, who's your favorite person you met so far?
New person?
Yeah.
Daniel Strange.
Yeah,
that's his name. He's a theologian. He and I, once we sort of found each other, it's like, boom. Oh, I need you on the channel.
Good.
Best,
I think you need your
reunion.
savings throws for today.
Oh, yes, please.
I mean, you're at ARC, right? And everybody else does. Survival, social wisdom, or heart. Can you resist the new WEF out with the old WEF in with the new WEF? Mind control. Survival, social wisdom, or heart. Choose. Oh,
What?
survivalists, not one.
Ooh.
Socialists, 19. Pride 19 for the socialists. Pairing it up with the survivalists. Wisdom
Are you still
lovers,
listening?
not one.
Oh, I'm colonizing.
Yeah, I am, but we can move on now from this.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to listen to this other guy. This sounds like
No. Yeah, I mean, this guy always does his routine, choose his stupid ties. I don't know, but anyway, he's tolerated because he's a kind of clown figure in the group.
Yeah, I don't like clown figures. I don't get why everyone likes clown figures. I just, I don't like clowns, and and with these things, I really hate when they're like, these things like you get on these streams and like they're titled something, and for like a fucking hour before they get to the point, they talk about bullshit. They talk about their lives. How are you? How's your wife? How's your kids? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, 100 million different things, and it's just, I'm not really interested. You know what I mean? I'm just like, get to the point.
Well, I mean, they're really for people to get together and feel all, community-like, I guess. And that's why, they have to be a certain length. And it's like, if you just finished what you wanted to say in 3 minutes, nobody's going to watch your stream, right?
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be 3 minutes, but it can be like half an hour of pure content, of pure, like, you know what I mean? Like pure knowledge. It doesn't have to be kind of like, a fun and game show like what's his name, Stephen J. James says it has to be. I mean, you hear my Twitter spaces; they tend to be serious from beginning to end, and I don't allow like lots of comedians or nonsense. Sometimes I do, but not like anything that's disruptive to the stream. And this is just the way that these people communicate. It's a cultural problem. It is a cultural problem. It's people aren't serious, and it's too informal. You know what I mean? It's too informal. The culture has become too informal, and they're not respectful of people's time, and they're not respectful of people's time, and they play around, and it's annoying, and like, I don't know. Well, not that he was doing that right there. I don't know what they were getting into, or it was obviously going south, you know what I mean, with everything. But the point is that, well, what was Paul Vanderklay's point? I don't understand.
Okay. As I understood it, he's in London. He feels he has to perform, be nice to people because, I think really his USP is that, he's good with people. He makes people kind of feel all warm and cozy, and, that there's a lot of alienated young men who regard him as some kind of father figure. And, they like the way he butters them up and is nice to them. And that's kind of what he's supposed to be doing. And he was just complaining that it's not really his thing. He is a sort of a smaller room kind of guy, not a plenary session guy. I think that's what he's trying to say. And okay, so what he promotes is this thing called the estuary protocols. I don't see the point of it myself, but basically, you get a group of people, and then you divide them into little groups, about 8 people. So they, it's a small group, and then you get them to introduce each other, introduce themselves, and then, maybe suggest a topic that they might want to talk about, and they may get their way or they may not. And I thought, that's really stupid. Why don't you just let them talk, whatever they want? But no, it's all got to be organized and micromanaged, and but in a way to make them feel, kind of listened to. So I participated in one of those things when he was in London, and it's basically so people don't get too rude. Right, so you're on a group, oh, I'm Vincent, and I live in Jersey, and then everybody says a little bit about themselves in a nicey way, and then I guess that stops them from being really mean and insulting each other later, and it's very strictly controlled. And I was like, I don't know what this is all about. Are you all children that you need to be? But this is one of the things that Stephen J. James was saying Millennial Woes overdid in Millennial. So he got all these moderators, and then he introduced them all and praised them all for keeping order in the children's room. And I thought, he's behaving like some kind of millennial nanny, but that's what they want, it seems. They want somebody to protect their feelings from being hurt, and Paul van der Klee is basically playing along to it. But I mean, the overall purpose of the ARC convention in London is to sell something, and I think that they're just using the brand of Christianity to sell whatever propaganda they have, like hate Trump, hate Muslims, love the war in Ukraine. This is what I can gather anyway. It's about reaching out to white middle class people who are still vaguely Christian.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, none of these people are really like all that serious about Christianity. I mean, I don't know. I just got into that discussion with Tim, telling me I wasn't raised Christian over stupid shit, over the Trinity, over blood transfusions, over where you go when you die. Do you go to heaven, or are you resurrected on earth? Like, I got the thing is that when I say I was raised more Christian than most Christians, I mean culturally, the meek, mild, not cursing, not talking about sex, more serious, more
manners.
What?
You have lovely manners, Vincent.
Not always, but yes, we were taught to be meek, mild, not be aggressive in speech, not be nasty, don't call people names and stuff like that.
Everybody else around you breaks those rules, and that's why sometimes you seem so saint-like.
Well, it's hard. It's I don't always live up to my upbringing either. I mean, I curse people out, and I call people bad words and stuff like that too. But at least that's just not the way I was raised. Whereas these people were raised on like some televangelist soap opera talk. Yeah, like God wants you to be rich, like Paula White. Not serious, glitzy, glammy, surface. All that shit. Like Jehovah's Witnesses. Are okay. Like we do sing songs in the Kingdom Hall, but they're very short. They don't take up the service. It's not like this big emotional, like Jehovah's Witness singing is not like deeply emotional. It's more like, and it takes out 3 minutes of time, no more than that. It doesn't take up the whole service. And, like Paula White with the piano playing in the back, and like, it's just not that kind of shit. You know what I mean? It was more like, okay, everyone sit down, open the Bible. This is what we're reading today. Let's all be on the same page. You have to answer questions. That means you have to pay attention. And there was no special room for children. There was no special classes for children. It was, it didn't matter if you were 2 or 22 or 52, you had to learn the same. There was one book for children, my book of Bible stories, that was made for young children, but and then there was one made for teenagers called Your Youth Getting the Best Out of It or something like that. And but besides that, they did not make children's curriculum, children's, preaching, child time. It was all like very deadly serious adult conversation. And very to the point, not, very to the point. Okay, like they would always teach us to get right to the point, because people don't like, the thing is that everything is geared towards getting you out into the ministry to go knock on people's doors and talk to them, and you have to make your appeal very quickly, because people don't want you there. People don't like Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't want to stand at the door. It's cold. The heat is leaving their house. Their dog wants to go, their dog is at the door, like causing problems for them. You know what I mean? Like it was just like, you know what I mean? People want to know exactly what you're talking about right away. You don't have time. And like, they would give like everyone, the children, the adults, there was a lottery system, like not a lottery, that's not the best word to use it, but a selection system where every, let's say that there's 100 people in your congregation, which is a lot. So you're going there 3 times a week. So on the Tuesday night ministry meeting, everyone would get a turn that the men had to stand up and give a talk. It had to be like a 5-minute talk or a 10-minute talk. It had to be to the point, simple, sweet, and to the point, get it all out in 5 minutes. And the women had to do scenarios where they would pretend they were on a Bible study. And like, you either had to pretend you were on a Bible study and do an act, or you had to give a speech in front of everybody, and which was only for the men. The women would do acts. The women would do like an act. No, I don't think women are allowed to speak like to the congregation. I never saw it ever once. There was never a woman speaker. If there was a woman on stage, she was doing an act. She was in a play, but there were no women speakers. I don't know if they have a rule against women speaking before the congregation, but
I think that there's some verse in a Pauline epistle saying women should be silent in church. Maybe they were taking it literally.
Yeah, something like that, but never in my 7, 8, 9 years that I was there, never once did I see a speech delivered by a woman. I'm like 99% certain that they can't do it. I mean, I would have to look on their website to see what they exactly say about it. But yeah, and like you would get up and you would give your 5-minute talk, and it had to be concise and it had to be to the point, and it was preparing you to be at the door. And they were very like systematic about it. Like they were like, okay, when you get to the door, already have the magazine out of your bag in your hand so that you don't need to go fumbling around for a magazine. Know what's in the magazine.
Play me being a householder and you knock on my door.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I forget a lot of the shticks. They would give you lots of shticks. So, okay, let's say that there was like, okay, you would have a magazine, and let's say the topic on the magazine was abortion, and it would be like, okay, the magazine would say something like, abortion, what does the Bible say? So, okay, I would knock on your door, and I'd be like, hi, how are you? And I'd be like, we're just going around to our neighbors today discussing the Bible, and the topic that we're bringing to the door today is abortion. What do you think the Bible says about abortion?
I don't think it mentions abortion in using that word. Is that right?
Well, see, I forget all the talk. I forget all the. I forget exactly what I'm supposed to say. But I would say something like, "Well, okay, I know it. Oh, that's right. Doesn't the Bible say that God knew you in the womb before you were even born, and that He counted you and knew you before you were born? Doesn't it say that He knew you?"
I don't know. Was that what it says?
I'm pretty sure that's what it says, though I can't remember. It does say something like that, like God knew you in the womb, God knew you before you were born. You know what I mean? So, okay, so if God knew you in the womb and cherished you in the womb, do you think God would want you to be aborted if He knew you?
No, I suppose not.
No, I suppose not. And then I would show them things from the Bible. And okay, so I would show you something from the Bible. I'd read a scripture to you from the Bible. And then I would offer you the magazine for free. At least in the United States, they were free. In other countries, sometimes people had to pay for them. But I would offer you the magazine. And then I would ask if I could come back to see what you thought about it a week later. And you would either say yes or no. So if you said, sure, I could come back, I would, come back. If you took the magazine, I would come back and maybe I would talk to you a little bit more. And then eventually, when I felt it was the right time, I would offer you a home Bible study. So that would mean I would come to your house and sit in your house with you, which is creepy, which I think actually this is why they can't grow that fast, because people are creeped out by people coming in their house, but I would offer you a home Bible study, and then I would come and do the Bible study with you. And then that was what the women would do. So the men would give talks, and then the women would pretend they were out on Bible studies up on stage, and there would be a different topic, and they would have to bring it up, and how to relate it to the householder, and stuff like that. And they would talk about etiquette. I remember my brother and sister were in this performance where someone went to the door. There was a householder at the door, and the mother arrived. Which I think was my mother on stage. I can't remember now, though, but my brother and sister were definitely there. And, the children started joking around and misbehaving, that was part of the play. And, the householder was all like, oh, I'm not interested, I'm sorry, because she was upset because the children were, not being ruly. And the whole thing was when you bring your children to the door, they have to be, polite, they have to be quiet, they have to not fidget and stuff like that. And yeah, I remember things like that. I remember they did this skit where someone goes up to the door, there's a householder there, and the Jehovah's Witness goes up to the door, and he's all discombobulated, and it's like, oh, I have something for you, and he's going through his bag, and it's the magazines are all crumpled, and he doesn't know where the magazine is, and he can't find it, and then the householder gets tired and walks away or shuts the door or whatever. They would do these etiquette classes. And yeah, no, we would be out in field service in the car, and the leader would be like, okay, I'm the householder, and what do you want to say? And we would go over the magazine. So there would be so many magazines. So usually the way it would work was there was a magazine for the week, but you would keep magazines inside your field service bag on different topics. So if something came up, whatever, abortion or alcoholism or whatever it was, whatever the homosexuality, whatever the topic was, you would have a magazine that you could give them, hopefully. So, I mean, there's endless, you can't carry all the magazines with you. There's a million Watchtower magazines, and they also change them. You can't use old ones because the old ones have different teachings in them, and, there's a certain cutoff date. You can't use them anymore. You can't use magazines from the 1950s or anything like that.
Yes. I understand.
Yeah, I actually read, I don't know if it's true because people have published so much false information about Jehovah's Witnesses, people who don't like them, they just publish lies. Oh no, what's wrong, baby? Oh, he's fine, maybe he's fine. The organization used to like recall literature and burn it, you know what I mean? Because they didn't want anyone knowing that they had changed their doctrines. So they used to like recall literature when it was like, faulty.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, you told me that they. Oh yes, you were saying that they predicted the end of the world and it didn't happen, and they had to keep explaining why it didn't happen or pretending it didn't happen.
Different kinds of things and different problems. They changed their stance on blood. They allowed blood transfusions, then they didn't. Then they allowed them, then they didn't. And it's called, we've discussed this before, it's called tacking. So in boating, so you can't go exactly in a straight line because of the wind. You have to kind of like bob back and forth. Like you can't just go right in a straight line somewhere. You have to like kind of wiggle, back and forth.
You have to trim your sails to suit the wind, or some expression like that.
Something like that. It's called tacking. It's called tacking in boating, and they called it tacking too, where it's like you don't go exactly in this straight line. It's more like you wiggle and weave back and forth because the wind will blow you in one direction, and then you have to kind of go back in the other direction. But you're going in the right direction. You're just taking a zigzag line there instead of going straight. And, that's what they would, it's tacking, we're going in the right direction. We make mistakes, but, new light and all this other kind of stuff. So it is a very interesting culture. It's like a very deep, dense culture for such a small group of people. They have a very elaborate, cultural system that they practice. It's, it's a whole culture. And if you're raised Jehovah's Witness, it is known in Jehovah's Witnesses, Jehovah's Witnesses isolate their children from other children, but even they know, I don't think this was ever published in the Watchtower, but it was known amongst Jehovah's Witness that people would isolate their children so much and raise them so differently from outsiders that when they grew up, they couldn't stand being around non-Jehovah's Witnesses. It just was too much of a culture shock for them. And that would happen to some people. I knew it would happen to children that were overly isolated and raised too much in a separate culture. And then when they grew up, they just couldn't function around regular worldly people. They didn't like them. They didn't want to be near them. It was very hard for them to do any kind of socialization, because Jehovah's Witnesses are taught generally not to put their children, Jehovah's Witnesses are generally taught not to put their children in private Jehovah's Witness schools. I did know of one, but it was the exception. No, it wasn't a Jehovah's Witness school, just lots of Jehovah's Witnesses went there. But generally you're taught not to put your children into separate Jehovah's Witness schools because they're supposed to learn how to interact with worldly people so that they can preach to them. And the children are taught to preach in school. So, you know what I mean? They would say, they taught you not to overly isolate them because they would go insane. You know what I mean? It would get crazy.
Are they Jehovah's Witnesses schools or not?
No, there's not. There's not really. No, there's no such thing as Jehovah's Witness schools, which I think would be better. But no, there's not. You're really not supposed to do that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But you're talking about private Jehovah's Witnesses school and your.
It wasn't a Jehovah's Witness school. Just lots of Jehovah's Witnesses went there. I knew of this one private school that was very small It was a very small private school, and a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses went there, but that was the exception to the rule. There's no such thing as Jehovah's Witness schools. No, you know, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to go out amongst the world and teach and preach.
It's quite noble, really, when you think about it.
Well, I mean, they're very organized and systematic, and they have a plan, and they have a way of life, and they're very geared towards converting people and going out in ministry and face-to-face conversions. Which in this day and age, I think that they're just stupid, and they don't utilize the internet that much. Like, now it's changing. When I was a child, the internet was like the devil. Like, you weren't supposed to be on the internet unless you had to be there, and you definitely were not supposed to just like go into any old chat room and start chatting with people. That was viewed as like, you couldn't get disfellowship for it probably, but it was viewed as like real, like, risque behavior. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is not how we should be like living our lives. You shouldn't be on the internet talking to strangers, and because and the internet would be like, also not just talking to strangers, but like you might come across apostate material of apostates who left. You could come across anything on the internet, anything, you know what I mean? Anything can, and it was supposed to be like this kind of like evil gateway to becoming evil. And it's different now. Like, my mother, who is so against the internet, has a Facebook account, you know what I mean? Which now I think they're becoming a little bit more like modern with the internet. But they don't, like you said, I don't even think they have an X account. I don't think there's a Watchtower X account. They had a Facebook page. They did have a Facebook page.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like having a telephone, right? Yeah, you can do all kinds of, bad things with your telephone, but, I guess it becomes accepted that everybody has one.
Yes, exactly. In this day and age, you can't live without a smartphone. Everyone has a smartphone. But no, I mean, are you generally encouraged to like go on the internet and like when I was young, you couldn't even make the excuse, oh, I was in there preaching. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, which I think some of them do that now. I think maybe they allow them to do it. But when I was a child, you couldn't use that as an excuse. You couldn't be like, oh, I was just in there preaching. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, what are you doing in there? You're really not.
Well, what are you doing in this gay chat room? I was in there preaching.
Oh, God. Oh, did I tell you, in the gay chat rooms that I go into, there is this one guy, his username is Jehovah's Witness guy, and I contacted him, and I was like, you are such a fucking hypocrite. And he told me, oh, I know lesbian Jehovah's Witnesses and stuff like that, which I don't know. That's just like ridiculous. I've never heard of that. Like, and if they are lesbians, they're not practicing. But no, he's like definitely breaking the rules by being in there. And if anyone found out that he was in a gay chat room, he would be disfellowshipped like immediately, or at least the elders would talk to him and tell him if he didn't stop it, he would be disfellowshipped. So.
But is it part of your gay faith play thing?
Well, I don't want to play with him because I think he's being such a hypocrite. I mean, that's such hypocrisy. Like, what are you doing? Like, Jehovah's Witness guy. Well, I only saw it once with Jehovah's Witness, but I did see it once. But it's more common with Mormons. A lot of guys want like a religious Mormon guy to seduce. Like, it happens way more often with Mormons, but like, is there like a fetish? Like, okay, like there's porns, like you ever seen those? You've never seen them, but there are porns like a Jehovah's Witness knocks on the door and the girls are like, you know, oh yes, come in. You know what I mean? It's, you know, it's, yeah, there's like there's crazy things like that. But there's a whole gay Mormon porn industry, not with real Mormons. There's a whole series of gay porns based on Mormonism.
Why is Mormonism so popular?
Well, because they're hot. Mormons are supposed to be hot, sexy, you know, wholesome, you know, all American, good boys that you can corrupt, that weren't into sex, that weren't into drugs, that weren't into alcohol. And then, you know, the thing is like, you know, the sleazy homosexual, you know, gets them, you know, to break all the rules and everything like that. That's the whole point of it. Which
Okay.
I'm not attracted to guys like that. I don't want to be around. I don't want to corrupt someone. Like, I want someone who's already, you know, on the same page as me. I don't really get into this kind of like, you know, like, I'm not really big on straight men. Like, I'm not really big on like, oh, let me turn him. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want someone who's hesitant. I don't want someone who doesn't know. I don't want someone who's confused. I don't want any of that kind of stuff. I just want somebody who knows what they want and wants it and is gay and is out and is this and is that. And you know what I mean? Maybe they smoke weed and drink a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't want like, you know, puritanical, oh, but I don't know. I'm confused. This isn't right. You know, I don't want any of that shit in my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm.
You know, but some guys are into that. And he's that Jehovah's Witness guy that's in the gay chat rooms is probably, he's marketing to that. He's marketing like, ooh, you know what I mean? It would work better if he was a Mormon. Like, yes, he would get a lot more like, you know, the thing is, Jehovah's Witnesses are low fucking class. Mormons are like so much more high class. They have so much more money. They go to college. They have nice jobs. They're attractive. They dress nice. They're into perfection. You know, that Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, I watched that and I'm so shocked. They were talking about how Mormons are so into like perfectionism, and so they actually like looking really nice and paying really close attention to the way they dress and the way they look, and like, you know, they're very perfectionist. And she's in Salt Lake City, the heart of Mormondom, and she runs a beauty salon that does things like what's the word that's a girl, Botox, you know what I mean? Like, it's a weird combination, you know, where you're supposed to be religious and you would think like, you know, you're really not supposed to be doing those kinds of things if you're religious, but because they're so obsessed with perfection, they do it. And so, you know, Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses are fucking, first of all, you're not going to show up to the door. Like, okay, first of all, we were taught not to like buy expensive branded clothing. You know what I mean? We were taught like not to like be flashy. Like, we were taught to have simple clothing that wasn't like, you know, flashy. Ooh, look at me. Jehovah's Witnesses don't go to college. They have one of the lowest college. I think they are the lowest ranking religion when it comes to college education. You know, they're isolated from society, and they're just generally not, Jehovah's Witnesses are generally poor. They're generally not snappy dressers, not socially awkward. There's a really weird element in the Jehovah's Witness, because you have to understand, a lot of people, it's not a religion that people are born into usually. They usually convert, and it is even known in the Jehovah's Witnesses, everyone complains about it. Not complains, but it's known that people who convert to Jehovah's Witness tend to have problems. They're drug addicts, they're alcoholics, they're whores, you know, they're this, they're that. And like, then they get saved, you know, though they don't call it, Jehovah's Witnesses don't call it getting saved, but, you know, they turn their life around. But a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses come from really bad backgrounds, you know, not just bad family backgrounds, but like they themselves had really poor life choices before they converted. So there are a lot, like, okay, like, you're not supposed to be a single mother, but there's lots of single mothers who were single mothers before they converted. So there's a lot of dysfunction. Like, you know, there's lots of single moms living in trashy houses with no father, and, you know, like, it's very common, these things, you know, poverty, you know, these types of things. It's a little bit trashy. It's a little bit trashy. I mean, there are some rich Jehovah's Witnesses, not a lot. There's not a lot of them. There's some rich, you know, so have a little bit of money, but not really a lot of them. And no, you're not supposed to have ostentatious houses. You know, you're not supposed to have McMansions. You're not supposed to, you know, that, like, they showed you, like, you know, they would show you the magazines and they would show you like examples of worldly people, and they really nice fast cars and really glitzy jewelry. Like, you weren't supposed to do all that kind of stuff. It was, you know, it was just, you know, a little bit of like a fuddy-duddy. So Jehovah's Witnesses don't have the same sex appeal as Mormons do. Like, you know, the Mormon church with all their like good breeding and their good racial stock, and they're hot, and, you know, and all this other kind of stuff. You know, you see that a lot more than Jehovah's Witness gay porn. You know, there's not a whole industry of Jehovah's Witness gay porn.
So, talking about Mormons, would a Jehovah's Witness ever be a presidential candidate like Mitt Romney?
No, they can't vote. They can't run for office. You can't run for office. I don't think you can be a judge. You can be a lawyer, but I don't think you can be a judge, because that's a political appointment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a political appointment, so you can't be a judge. You're really not supposed to be a police officer. Actually, you can be baptized as Jehovah's Witness if you're a police officer, but you cannot be a ministerial servant. So if you carry a gun, you cannot. There's only so high you can go up in the hierarchy. So police officer is like considered like not. There was a police officer in my congregation, and it was a scandal. It was like, you know, people didn't treat him poorly, and like, you know, people were nice to him, but it was known he wasn't allowed. He was not allowed to go behind the counter to distribute literature. You know, which is like a big deal. It's called being a ministerial servant. I'm like, it's kind of like, ooh, my son's a ministerial servant and he's only 18 and blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? It was, you know what I mean? So he couldn't be a ministerial servant because he carried a gun and was a police officer. So, you know, they do look down on it. They have certain regulations like that, like certain professions or certain, I don't know, probably the same if you were like private security or something like that. I think if you carried a gun, you could not, which is retarded, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't know. I don't think it's a punishable offense for a Jehovah's Witness to own a gun. I don't think it's, but if you do it for your profession, and like, you know, you're putting yourself in a position where you might have to shoot somebody, you know, if you're purposely putting yourself in that position where you might have to take a life, then no, you're considered, not
Part of the
unclean.
establishment. So I guess Jehovah's Witnesses make a point of being anti-establishment. Is that
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, they do. They want to be anti-establishment. They don't want to be part of the world. And yeah, the police officer, it's not a political appointment, but you're still upholding the political order. But, of course you're allowed to work in like a political office as like a secretary or something. My mom worked for the state. It's not like you're allowed to work for the state, but there's just certain positions. Judge, you're not allowed to be. What else aren't you allowed to be? I can't remember. You're not allowed to be a judge. You obviously couldn't do anything like be an omnibus or anything that you had to get voted in. You couldn't do. You're not allowed to vote. It was.
You make the Amish.
What?
What you make me think of the Amish talking about Jehovah's Witnesses like that. I mean, like they're just an isolated community, and that's what they want to be.
Yeah, a little bit less isolated than that. And I think the Amish voted. I think the Amish voted for Trump. I saw all of them with their big Trump things on their horse carriages and stuff like that. That was a big deal here in America that the Amish were all pro-Trump.
I wonder if the Jehovah's Witnesses were, because they'd had enough too.
Yeah, no, I mean, okay, like in the Jehovah's Witnesses, they do talk about politics, and Jehovah's Witnesses do have preferences in who they wish would be elected. Like, would Jehovah's Witnesses say, oh, I hope so-and-so doesn't get elected, or I hope so-and-so doesn't get elected? Yes, they will. And like, I knew Jehovah's Witnesses, they had preference for Fox News over CNN. And like, I knew this like Jehovah's Witness who used to call the Democrats the demon rats and stuff like that. The demon rats, but generally there's very little political talk, and people don't get into fights over politics or anything like that. Like, it's not in passing, someone might be like, oh God, Trump, I hope he doesn't get in. But like, they're not going to vote. They're not going to go out and campaign. They're not going to post on their Facebook feed, fuck Trump. They're not going to do any of that kind of stuff. And when they're in a meeting, they certainly won't bring it up, in a formal setting where there's other, like, I don't know, like if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you go over to another Jehovah's Witness's house for tea, and then, a little bit, they'll talk about politics, like, oh, I can't believe so-and-so did this, I can't believe so-and-so did that, so-and-so is so good, so-and-so is so bad, you know what I mean? Like, they'll do that little bit, but not really, not like to any extent that like a fight is going to break out. Like, I don't ever remember. Jehovah's Witnesses don't stop talking to each other over politics. It just doesn't happen. You know what I mean? It's not a divisive issue in the congregations. It's just not. Trump wasn't a divisive issue. I don't even think the Jehovah's Witnesses put anything out about Trump. Actually, they would never put anything out about any president. Like, I never remember them bringing up like Bill Clinton, George Bush, any of these people. I don't remember them like ever being like, they would talk about presidents more generally, like in a general term, like presidents are part of the system, blah, 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 blah. But like, I don't remember them ever being like, Bill Clinton is not a godly man. Like, no, like I don't remember them ever making commentary on political figures. Let's look if Jehovah's Witnesses ever said anything about Trump. I just want to see if there's anything on the Watchtower website about Trump.
Yeah, because you think surely they would say something about him, considering the Amish, who I imagine never bothered voting, declared for him. But then he got quite a lot of people to vote for him, right? Even the Muslims.
No, there's absolutely nothing. Everything about the Watchtower and Trump is about how his son bought the Jehovah's Witness complex in Brooklyn, which was a very famous one. But no, there's no Jehovah's Witness material on Trump. I'm looking right now. There's absolutely nothing from their, let's go to their website, jw.org. Let's see if there's anything about Trump. No, trumped up violations.
Oh, did I tell you I saw the Trump movie? I quite enjoyed it.
Trumped up. Wait, I think I might have found one thing on Trump. Let's say. And I'm sure it's nothing like. Okay, fine. No, okay. Yeah, like this doesn't really count. Like this is so passive. The only thing about Trump on their whole website, it's an article about political violence. What does the Bible say? And all they say is the United States has been shaken by a second apparent attempt to assassinate former President Donald Trump on September 15, 2024. But it's an essay about political violence, and they're just all they're doing is they're giving a list of political violent things that have happened. The assassination of a record high 39 political candidates, along with other forms of political violence, has marred Mexico's 2023 to 2024 election season. But no, I mean, they're not going to, that's the extent of Trump on their website, mentioning that he was shot at in an article about political violence. They're not going to comment on his, they're not going to comment on the faith office. They're not going to comment on any of that kind of stuff.
But I imagine Jehovah's Witnesses would be considered quite well educated, though. Would you say that? But
No.
maybe not as well educated as the Mormons.
They're not well educated. They don't go to college. They don't exalt education. No, education is viewed as like not necessary, a distraction. It's not considered. No, they're not educated. Actually, I think that they have the lowest college degree rates on earth of all religions. Let's just look that up, because I remember reading that. Jehovah's Witnesses hold the least amount of college degrees.
But surely their verbal intelligence is above average, I would have thought, because of what they have to do. And social intelligence.
Okay, according to AI, Jehovah's Witnesses hold the least amount of college degrees, with only 9% of witnesses getting undergraduate degrees, which is well below the national average of 30.4% and the lowest of any faith group. The religious official warnings against college may be the likely reason for this trend. Yeah, so they are the lowest. They have only 9%. And let me tell you that 9%, 99.99% of that 9% are converts. Like, if you ever met a Jehovah's Witness lawyer or doctor, 99.99% of the time, they converted after they got their education. The only time that I can ever think of a Jehovah's Witness who is a Jehovah's Witness going to college is when the Watchtower Society, this would be someone who has dedicated their life to Jehovah, who has no house, who has no of their own personal possessions, who lives on the compound. They have compounds where communal living. These are people who dedicate their life to printing magazines, to doing whatever the work the organization needs to stay running administratively. Sometimes, rarely, they will send one of them to law school in order, because they need lawyers. But most of their lawyers come from converts. If you meet a Jehovah's Witness lawyer, likely they're a convert, or they're a convert who had their law degree, or in the special case, Like, I don't know, like, yeah, you're not supposed to go to school to become a medical doctor. No, that would be viewed very low. But on their compounds, do they have medical doctors? Yes, either a convert or someone who they specially selected to go to college so that they could have a doctor on the compound. But those things are like, you know, are like whatever. Even though my sister became a nurse, which I'm a little bit angry about that, because when I was a child, that would have been like not the best profession for a Jehovah's Witness. It's 4 years of college. It takes up a lot of your time. It really would not have been an option for me, but you know, it was an option for her for some reason. They're getting better at letting the children go to college, because they're also realizing that you can't make it on a high school diploma anymore. You know, you can't pay your bills on a high school diploma. So they are updating it a little bit, but still, you're not supposed to do something that's going to take up all your time. Like, you know, get a degree in English, get a degree, and get something that you only need a 4-year degree. Like, I knew this one Jehovah's Witness girl, and she got her bachelor's degree in accounting, but she didn't want to get her master's because that would be like too worldly. That would be like too much investment in her educational career and not enough for Jehovah. So like, yeah, like they might do that. Like, okay, you can become an accountant, you can become, I don't know, maybe a kindergarten teacher or something like that. But no, don't get a master's, certainly don't get a PhD. That would be viewed as like, real, just, you wouldn't get the fellowships, but you would be viewed as really spiritually weak.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was like, it would just be viewed, you probably wouldn't be a ministerial servant. You wouldn't have time to become a pioneer, and like they keep track of your hours. They keep track of how many hours you put into field service, and then they have grades like, okay, there's auxiliary pioneer, that's 60 hours a month. Then there's pioneer, which is 90 hours a month, and there's special pioneer, which is 120 hours a month. And like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously you want to be on one of these pioneer lists, but if you're not, yeah, you would be looked down upon if you were only putting in 5 hours a month of field service time.
5 hours.
Yeah, no, like it would just be viewed as like, people who didn't go out in field service would be viewed with suspicion, would be viewed as like, not as not putting all their faith and time in Jehovah's organization. And it would be, it's low status. You would have a lower status. People would talk about you. I told you, if you stop showing up for meetings, they put you on an inactive list. And then when you're on an inactive
and knock
list,
on your door. Do they knock on your door
Yes.
and ask you why? Okay.
Yes, they will. If you fall into inactivity, mandatory the rule is that you get 1 yearly visit. So they will come to your house once a year to ask you, are you okay? Do you want to come back? Is everything okay? Why did you leave? You get a yearly visit to try to induct you back in. But yeah, and then but disfellowshipping is I forget. Well, I know that if there was someone disfellowshipped, that a regular Jehovah's Witness could not go to their door to preach to them, and you were not allowed to talk about spiritual matters with them. The only person that could go to their door was an elder to talk to them if they were disfellowshipped, and that would be it. And but yeah, no, besides that was another thing that they would only an elder. So like, they would keep records of who is disfellowshipped. I remember we knew this other Jehovah's Witness family, and their neighbor was disfellowshipped for smoking. And it was a big, Oh, they would. I mean, they treated her like she was a fucking witch. Like they'd be like, "Oh, don't go near her house." You know what I mean? Like they would like, you
So
know, they
strict.
what?
So strict.
Yes,
Just,
like
just, just for smoking, right?
yeah, yes, you're not allowed to smoke. She smoked, and that's why she
Mm.
got disfellowshipped, and that was it. You know what I mean? She didn't really do anything else wrong. That was her disfellowshipping offense, smoking, but it was
Mm.
still considered like, it's still considered a disfellowshipping offense. You're not allowed to smoke or, or do
Mm.
drugs or anything. You're not allowed to smoke weed, even though for a period of time, uh, it there was. I remember. I don't know if it was just my mother, but there's something in the Bible that says stay away from the smoke, and that's why they don't smoke cigarettes. But what was I going to say? At first, I remember my mother saying, "Well, if it was legal and they had wafers, I would eat marijuana wafers." But then they made a ruling on that, and it said that marijuana is a hypnotic and that it invites demonic possession because it's a hypnotic, and yeah, it's a hypnotic, and you're not supposed to take hypnotics. It was classified as
Mm.
a hypnotic, so
Mm.
that was that. That was going
Yes.
around. It was going around for a while. Like, are we allowed to eat pop brownies? Are we allowed to do that? It was like a question, and they solved that, pretty well. Even though I don't know what that means. It's a hypnotic. Like, how does how does it become classified as a hypnotic? I've never heard anyone classify drugs as hypnotics before.
Well, I suppose they change your mood so you're susceptible to evil influences, but you're not even allowed to drink coffee or tea, are you?
No,
Or
that's Mormon. Mormons are not supposed to drink coffee or tea, but you have to remember they have their two-tier system, their two-tier
Jack
temple,
Mormon.
their two-tier temple system. So if you're drinking Diet Cokes, which you're not supposed to do, you have to go to the little church. But if you have to get a temple recommend in order to get into the temple. So in Mormonism, your leader needs to certify that you're not drinking coffee, not drinking tea, not smoking, not doing alcohol, not having sex, like, dressing properly, appropriately, always in the church, every Sunday, paying your tithe. You have to do everything, and then you get a temple recommend, and then you're allowed in the temple. But like on that Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, there's only one woman. Wait, let me think. There's only one of the main women who is still a Mormon, but she calls it Mormon 2.0. First of all, she's not allowed in the temple. She doesn't have a temple recommend. She goes to the lower church that like all the sinners go to, and she drinks Diet Coke. She calls it Mormonism 2.0. That's what she calls herself, Mormon 2.0. So, like on one of the episodes, she gambled, and she's like, "Yeah, no, like in Mormonism, you're not supposed to do anything addictive, but I'm not addicted, so that's why I call it Mormon 2.0." She's a booze baroness. She sells booze. She goes to the lower churches in strapless dresses. You know what I mean? Like, it, but the point is she's not allowed in the temple, and she says, she's like, I drink too many. I mean, she says I drink too many Diet Cokes to go there, but she's selling booze. She's selling booze. You know what I mean? She's selling booze. I mean, this must be like considered. I don't know. I don't really know, but there is no real. They're like, okay, we talked about Jack Mormons. We talked about them, right? Like Mormons who don't take it very, very seriously. There's not really a strong culture of that in Jehovah's Witness because, number one, you can't call yourself a Jehovah's Witness unless you get baptized. And that's a really hard process. And most people who are going to go through that whole process are not going to just like stop taking it seriously. But there is a small culture of like demi Jehovah's Witnesses. Like these are actually, I would say these are more like unbaptized people that simply like read the Watchtower and come to the Kingdom Hall every once in a while, but don't get baptized. There is a small contingency of that type of person. They're like I knew this. There was this one celebrity, I can't remember her name, but whatever, she was on TV and like all these trashy shows and stuff like that. I don't think she was baptized, and I remember it was like, okay, Jehovah's Witnesses are not against medicine, but some Jehovah's Witness on their own are against medicine, or like psychiatric medication, or like Tylenol. Like, it's not, the Jehovah's Witnesses don't tell you can't take psychiatric medication or Tylenol, but some Jehovah's Witnesses go that. And I remember she, like, you know, she's like, oh, I don't take these medications, I'm Jehovah's Witness, but she wasn't real Jehovah's Witness. I don't think she was baptized. I think just her family was Jehovah's Witness, and she was probably just raised nominally Jehovah's Witness. But by her lifestyle, being on TV and all these trashy TV shows, you know, she, you know, it's not, she called herself Jehovah's Witness, but I don't think she was baptized. I don't think she really was. She had weird, unusual beliefs, no medicine, no Tylenol. You know, she had, you know, it was weird. But they're really big. Like, there's things in Jehovah's Witness that are cultural and not brought down from the organization. Like, they're all into alternative medicine. They're all into herbs. They're all into like health food stores and stuff like that. They're really into that kind of stuff, even though, like, you know, you're allowed to eat whatever you want as a Jehovah's Witness. I don't know. You can't eat blood, so you can't have blood pudding, you can't have blood sausage, you can't have anything with blood in it. But besides that, there's no dietary restrictions. And no, I mean, I think they generally, yes, you're supposed to take care of your body. Like, you're not supposed to become obese, even though, like, you know, there's lots of obese Jehovah's Witnesses. And I don't think they preach it to high heaven that you're not supposed to be obese, because that might offend people and you might lose people. But technically, are you supposed to like practice gluttony? No. I mean, they don't go after you if you're fat. You're not going to get disfellowshipped if you're fat, which might be a little bit hypocritical. Maybe you should be. But okay, so the general command is like, okay, you're not supposed to pollute your body, which would include like too many snacks, too much sugar. And yeah, they would have articles like, you know, what does too much sugar do to your brain, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, but they don't necessarily tell you. It's not like, it's not like, oh, you need to only eat at health food stores and you need to have all these weird health diets and stuff like that. Like, it's not like that. But Jehovah's Witness culture is like that. They're all into like health food stores, pills, but not like pharmaceutical pills, more like herbal pills and, you know, alternative medicine and supplements, chiropractors, you know, chiropractors and things like that. Like, you know, different, you know, I don't think you're allowed to do Reiki. I don't think they're allowed to do that. I'm not sure, because I think Reiki is spiritual. But yeah, I mean, you're not.
Or yoga. I suppose it doesn't sound like you can do yoga.
What?
Can you? Can you do yoga?
I don't think so.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
I don't think they can do yoga. No, I don't think so. And if they're allowed to do it, they can only do secular yoga, like physical yoga. They can't learn like the Kundalini and all that other kind of stuff. No, they can't, you know, they can't learn about the spiritual aspects of Kundalini and involve themselves in that. I don't know about secular yoga. Maybe they might be allowed to do that, you know, if it's secularized. But it would be a scandal. Probably if you were doing secular yoga, maybe you couldn't get this fellowship.
I've never heard of secular yoga until you
Just
mentioned
no religious connotation to it. You don't learn about the serpent, the chakras. It's just physical body movements. Secular yoga, it's just physical body movements. But even that would be viewed as like, if you were doing, yeah, secular yoga would probably be viewed as scandalous. Like we talked about, like going to prom, the Watchtower made it absolutely clear that like they recommend very hard against it, you know, but you won't be disfellowshipped if you go to prom, but you'll just be viewed as like, you know,
contaminated.
Yes, you would be viewed as like not being spiritual, being worldly, wanting to fit in, you know, being hedonistic, these different kinds of things. I remember we went over that they're really not supposed to go to prom, but it's not a disfellowshipping offense. It would just be viewed as like, whatever. But I mean, like, yeah. Well, I'm sure if Jehovah's Witnesses had a 2-tier temple system like the Mormons, there would be more Jehovah's Witnesses. Like, if there was like a lower rung that you could, like, you know, you could still be in, but, like, you know, because the Mormons have lower and higher heavens, right? Nobody goes to hell. I don't think there's hell in Mormonism, but there's lower and higher heavens, and celestial, telestial, and terrestrial. Terrestrial, telestial, and celestial realms. And if you have your temple recommend and do all your temple rituals, you get into the highest realm.
Yes, they're quite creative about, you know, these different categories to kind of keep people without kicking them out, even though they're not quite as good as. Yeah, I guess that's quite clever.
Yeah, I think it's clever. I think it's clever to keep people, you know, in order to keep people, in order to have, like, you know.
You can say, we've got so many Mormons or whatever. That makes you sound better.
we have so many Mormons, and you know, it makes it so that excuse me, yeah, you don't have to kick people out, but still they have a lower status if they're not taking it that seriously, you know. But that also kind of doesn't help you look like a stringent group. I mean, if you're allowed to be a booze baroness and practice Mormon 2.0, how serious are people going to take your church? You know what I mean?
But that program you mentioned, the Housewives of Salt Lake City. I mean, is there a program called the Housewives of Jehovah's Witnesses? Or
no, there would never. There are no Jehovah's Witness rich housewives. They're all freaking checkout girls and work at the pharmacy, like handing out like sunglasses and stuff like that. They're not. There's no multi-billionaire, multi-millionaire Jehovah's Witness housewives that have, and if there are, they don't live a lifestyle that anyone would want to watch on TV. I mean, you know, they would be looked down upon if they had a huge mansion, really nice car, fast car, more diamonds, like all these girls do on the Real Housewives, like, you know, coming out on their wedding, you know, in their wedding with a huge crown of diamonds, like, you know, they're not going to do shit like that. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Where I'm learning that, you know, I'm shocked at how liberal these Mormons are and how, like, advanced it is. Though the legislature in Utah is still Mormon, and they try to legislate morality. Like, there's this weird, in the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, like, you're not allowed to have more than one drink at your table at a time. So, like, you can't order like 2 drinks at a time. You can only order 1 at a time. There's only allowed to be 1 glass of alcohol per person on the table. You can't have, like, if you have 4 people, you can't have 6 glasses of alcohol. So, like, they can't serve. You ever go to a place where they have like what's it called, like a flight, where it's like 5 beers and they bring it out on a wooden panel for you, so you can drink all the beers. So you can, like, it's called a flight. You know what a flight is?
I'm not sure. I thought you just get a jug of beer or something.
In America, I don't know if I'm sure they have them in England too. It's called a flight. So let's say that you go to a beer house and you want to try all their beer. Let's say that they have like 6 kinds of beer, and they'll give you, it usually comes on a wooden tray, and it's like a smaller glass of each of the beers, so you can sample them all. So I don't think you could do that in Utah. I don't think you could bring out a flight. You can't bring out, like, you know, you couldn't bring out a flight of different tequilas because you could only have 1 shot on the table at a time. which is a stupid rule. Like, people could just order more and more drinks. I don't understand why, it's so stupid that, that you're not allowed to have more than 2 drinks on the table or 1 drink on the table per person. But, I don't know how that prevents people from getting drunk. But,
so you can down your drink and then order another after your glass has been taken away. Is that how you get around it?
Yes, yeah, that's how you get around it. You have to drink your alcohol, put it down, order another one, which is what most people do anyway. But it's a stupid rule. It's just a stupid rule. I don't see how it stops people from drinking. I don't see how it stops alcoholism. I think it's just symbolic. I think it's like, I think they're just trying to like assert morality and like remind people, maybe. You know what I mean? Well, because like, maybe, I've done it where I've been in a busy restaurant and I knew I wanted to drink and I knew I wanted to get a little drunk. So I would order like 5 shots in a row because I didn't want to drink the shot, wait, drink the shot, wait, drink the shot, wait. Like, I just wanted to drink 5 shots and get drunk. So I've done it before. Like, maybe other people do that. Like, in a busy restaurant, serve me like, I'm going to have 3 beers at the table so I can just like swill them down one after the other to get drunk. You know what I mean? Maybe, I don't, besides that, but I've done it. I mean, and now I'm thinking about it. Like, have I ordered more than 1 glass of alcohol at a table at a time? Yeah, I have. You know what I mean? I've done it so that I didn't have to, because, I wanted to drink and I wanted to drink fast and I wanted to get drunk fast and it was busy and I didn't want to wait for the waitresses to come over every 15 minutes to order another glass, because then by the time I drink the next glass, the alcohol is gone from me from the first glass. So what's the point? Like, if it's really busy, actually, let's look up.
You could say put 5 shots into 1 big glass.
Yeah, put 5 shots into 1 big glass. I could have said that. No, but probably, yeah, that would probably be illegal. Oh, also, they said that you have to do, you ever go to the bars and you know how in most bars, they just like, the bartender just pours out the glass or whatever. But I've ever been to bars where they have those, I mean, it's actually looked down on everywhere else, but you know how they have those measuring pourers? Like, you ever see them? They pour, it's like a little metal, like, weird looking thing.
I think. Sorry, yeah, there's a special word for it. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, where it's like an exact pour. You know what I mean? An exact pour. So like, you have to exact pour in Utah. You have to exact pour. And unless I'm wrong and I misremembered all this, but I'm 99% sure I didn't misremember it. You have to do exact pours in Utah because, like, you can't put extra, you can't put that, whatever the drink calls for, whatever the alcohol content is supposed to be. That's what it has to be. Actually, I want to look this up. I want to look up, because I remember watching this on,
Jigger. It's called a jigger. The measuring thing. Is it a double? Is it a single? That kind of thing. It's called a cocktail jigger, right? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Hold on. I'm just looking this up quick. Okay. AI, so this is AI. In Utah, each person is allowed to have no more than 1 glass of alcohol on the table. This rule applies even if you are ordering for friends and 2 cocktails are not allowed. Okay, so that was a guide to Utah's bizarre and numerous drinking laws. Okay, let's see. They have a list of them.
Yeah, I'm reminded of this cocktail I had. It was put in a pint glass, right? A whole mojito in a pint glass, which was delicious. But you were thinking, shouldn't it be, in a more elegant, glass or whatever, but it wasn't.
Okay, yeah, here. Or maybe you could charm your way into a heavy pour. It's a lost cause. Not even regulars can get away with that old standby. So yeah, it has to be an exact pour. You can't get a heavy pour. I think that they are required by law to use those. What did you call it?
Jigger.
A zigger?
Jigger.
Hi. Oh wait, every single shot poured in the state of Utah is measured through a liquor control system known as the Berg.
BERG?
BERG. By law, the system, sometimes called the clicker, must be set to measure shots at no more than 1.5 ounces.
Yeah, I suppose you need to do these things properly if you're going to make a proper cocktail. You can't just, estimate and maybe not.
Well, that's what they do. That's what they do everywhere else in the world. It's actually, it's kind of viewed as cheesy if you have those exact pours. You're viewed as being cheap. You're viewed as being like the bars that do exact pours are not popular bars. You know what I mean? I don't know if you've ever heard these sentiments before, but if you do an exact pour, you're viewed as cheap. You're viewed as stingy. It's you want to be at a bar where people do heavy pours, where it's no, it's not exact, but at the same time you can be gypped without an exact pour.
Yeah, because if you want to make a proper cocktail and make sure it tastes the same every time, then you do need those jiggers, right? I mean, I have one. Just because you care about your cocktails and you want to produce them to a consistent standard.
Yeah, maybe, but yeah, no. I mean, there looks like there's even more laws that I haven't read about. There's Mormon drinking laws or Utah drinking laws, alcohol laws. Do hotels need a reason to kick you out?
Well, how drunk and disorderly do you have to be?
Hold on. Oh, they have smoking? Wait, hold on. Is this the same? No, this is different. Happy hour or appy hour?
Happy hour.
Oh, so they have to get an establishment rating as either a club, a bar, a restaurant, or a distillery. So you have to, kind of fall into a category.
Got to have your license, your alcohol license.
Yes, if you're under 21, you can't be in a bar and a club, but you can be in a restaurant that serves alcohol. Which I was in. I mean, yeah, okay. In New York, you're allowed to be in a bar if you're under 21 without ordering alcohol. I would go. Well, maybe that I don't. Yeah, they would allow us in bars. But what a bar that serves food, is that a restaurant or is it a bar?
Could be a bar restaurant.
Oh, this is another rule I remember that someone else told me. Restaurant patrons are required to order food with alcoholic beverages. That's right. And I think you have to order a thing of food for every thing of alcohol.
Yeah, I think the pubs in the UK that used to just what was I trying to say? I guess most pubs now are gastropubs, so they've turned themselves into restaurants because they make more money that way. But it used to be you could just order alcohol and not have to have food. But now they're trying to make you have food with your alcohol.
Yeah, no, okay. So if you're in something designated as a restaurant, you have to order food. You can't just get alcoholic beverages. But if you're in a bar that happens to serve food, you can just drink. which is not the case. Like, obviously, I'm allowed to enter into a restaurant and get a glass of wine without. I've done it before. I've gotten glasses of wine at restaurants without ordering food. So it's not like that's a Utah. That's a Utah.
Hmm. Can you read the chat? Do you know what Mycroft Wins means by 1500 N and 750 W?
What's that? Just so you know, they're not allowed to have happy hour either. What are you talking about? What?
Well, Mycroft obviously has been to Utah, and he's talking about, I don't know, temples are not going there, and
Yeah,
well,
you're not allowed to go. You're not allowed to go into the temple unless you have a temple recommend.
Yeah, so I don't know what he means by what 1500 N and 750 W. Do you know what that means?
No, I don't. I don't know if those are what they call their temples, but yeah, temple recommend. You need a temple recommend to get into the temple. Let's see. Wait. What are lesser Mormon churches called? Maybe it's just called a church. Oh, it doesn't. It's not telling me.
Are you getting ideas for your secular paganism from all this?
Mormon Dictionary and Common Words. And of course, they put 3 Black people there. Oh, and two Latinos, because they're trying to reform their image of being like totally white and white supremacists. So they're putting all like ethnic people on their websites now. They're like, yeah, actually, Utah, there's a lot of like international Mormons that they're converting in like Polynesia and something, and they moved to Utah. On the Real Housewives, there was this one woman. Oh my God, she was from Polynesia, I think. She was from somewhere in Polynesia, and she was raised a Mormon, and she came to Utah to live, but then she converted to Islam. But I mean, she was not taking it seriously. She was drinking. She was a criminal. She was stealing money from people. She had like 500 plastic surgeries on her face. And she was just like totally insane. She was totally fucking insane, but she was raised in the Mormon church. I'm just shocked by, it's like, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. I don't know. I kind of want to go to Salt Lake City and just like check it out and see what it's like there. And, it's probably about 75% Mormon or something like that. And on the show, there is a Black woman who's not Mormon, who is a preacher in like a Baptist church or something like that. And people think she's God.
Why?
I don't know. I don't even know, because she's really bad on the show. Like, she's just like not godly. She's not trashy like some of them are, like, whatever, but she's just like a bitch. She's just not, and she's extremely rich and shows off all her money and stuff like that. But no, like they were showing like people in the church were like, oh, you're the facsimile of God.
It sounds a bit like a propaganda exercise. Like, we're going to undermine white people, Mormons and religious people. And I guess Jehovah's Witnesses are kind of not glam enough to be undermined, so they didn't bother with you guys.
No, nobody bothers with us. Nobody, nobody bothers. They just want to push them aside and not deal with them and poo-poo them and all this other kind of stuff. I'm really pissed off, like, at my family, because all they did was trash Jehovah's Witnesses, but they're like, oh, like they respect Islam. I'm like, get a backbone. Like, it's easy to go after Jehovah's Witnesses. They're easy to attack. But like, Islam is your favorite fucking religion? Are you kidding me?
Maybe it's a kind of trend these days to kind of not like your own stuff and prefer other people's stuff.
Well, but still, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's, you know, it's just, yeah, it's easy to dislike them. You know, it's easy. And whatever's easy to dislike, people will dislike. When it's going to get you into social trouble to dislike something, then everybody likes it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's not socially acceptable to dislike Jews, so it's not going to get you, you know, a high status. Is someone else here?
No,
Oh, I thought I heard someone else.
no, there's nobody else here.
That must have been you making that noise.
There was some electronic noise which I didn't consciously make. So basically, Mycroft was talking about the uniquely organized addressing system in Salt Lake City, influenced by Mormon settlement patterns. The system is grid-based, with the Salt Lake Temple at Temple Square serving as a reference point for numbering streets. And then he was talking about directional numbering addresses indicate a location relative to this grid. Example, 1500 west, 3000 south means 15 blocks west of the temple, 30 blocks south of the temple. Anyway, that explains the number.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. That's interesting. Interesting. Yeah, they're interesting. They're interesting, but no, I remember because they grow faster than Jehovah's Witnesses, and my mother's like, "Oh well, it must be easy to be a Mormon." You know what I mean? Like, you know.
But she
They like
must have considered Mormonism, mustn't she? Or
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think she ever considered anything like that.
right, because it was too free and easy?
No,
You told me
probably.
that she looked into every religion in the world or something.
Well, she did. She looked into all the Christian religions, but she looked into all the Christian religions, but I don't think she took Mormonism seriously. At least I never got brought to a Mormon temple, and there were no Mormons in upstate New York. There were no Mormons. There, you know, it's like it wasn't something that would have been on her radar. What temple would she have gone to? I don't even know if they have a temple, a Mormon temple in New York. I mean, they might have a Mormon church, but not a Mormon temple. There are countries that have Mormon churches, but no temple. Yeah, I know they made the first Mormon temple in Italy just recently.
Oh.
Yeah, that was their first Mormon temple. First Mormon temple, Italy. But they had regular churches. Oh, Rome, Italy temple. Yeah, oh, you know, they have nice, impressive temples. They have nice, impressive temples, you know.
And choirs.
Yes, and choirs and stuff like that. Mormon tabernacle. Oh,
Well, I wonder how many new religions came from America. There must be so many.
Yeah, Christian Science, Jehovah's Witness, Mormon, Seventh-day Adventist, that Armstrong cult.
Grok.
Are you getting tired?
No, I sometimes yawn without being that tired. But you've been able to use Grok now, haven't you?
Yes, I have. And I like Grok, actually.
It's better than ChatGPT, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually better than almost everything. I actually really like Microsoft Copilot.
Yeah, because it tries to initiate a conversation with you, doesn't it?
I don't know, but maybe Grok does. I'm not sure, but I don't know. What should we ask Rock?
Well, I was just saying, name the cults of America, and it's given me quite a list.
It's giving you a list of cults in America?
Yeah.
Okay,
I've got
good.
10. But
Huh?
it doesn't mention Jehovah's Witnesses
Yeah, because they're no longer labeled a cult.
or Scientologists.
Well, because things that used to be considered cults are no longer considered cults. Mormonism used to be considered a cult. You know what changed the Mormon landscape about being a cult? The Osmond twins, or whatever they were, brothers and sister.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So they became normalized.
Yeah, yes, they became normalized. They became normalized. Yes, they became normalized through the Osmond twins, Osmond brother and sister. And like, actually, that's so interesting because in the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, like in Utah, like to be an Osmond is like a big deal. It's like a dynasty. And there's this one, like, whatever. I'm sure she doesn't go to the temple. I'm sure she goes to the lower church. One Mormon girl she's not a main character in the show, but she is in the show. And she's dating an Osmond. And it's like, everyone's like, oh, are you just dating him because you want the prestige and all this other kind of shit? And yeah, no, it's like, I don't know, it's like royalty. It's like royalty for Mormons to be an Osmond. And he's like their nephew or something like that. Because the Osmond twins must be old now. They must be like in their 70s, right?
I'll look that up.
Yeah, Donnie and Marie. What is his name? Donnie and Marie Osmond?
Donnie and Marie, yeah.
Donnie and Marie Osmond, the Osmond twins. And that's when, because prior to that, Mormonism was viewed as just like cults and like, horrible and, just like something really bad and abhorrent. And then they came along.
67 years.
I'm sure this Real Housewives of Salt Lake City is not helping or is helping make Mormonism look like, chic. Especially with them all getting Botox and like dressed to the nines. These women dress like.
Or just encouraging Mormons to misbehave.
Yeah, they're encouraging them to misbehave. Though most of the women in the show are ex-Mormon. There was this one piece of trash woman, a total trash, who got expelled from the Mormon church. And then she got back in. I don't know what her story was, because in order to get back in, you have to really, 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 really work for it. They don't just like let anyone back into the Mormon church. And she said she wasn't really seriously raising her children Mormon, even though she got back into the Mormon church. And, she didn't act very spiritual or religious or anything like that on the show. She was like doing fucked up things to people. And, dressed like whatever. And, her money. Actually, I don't even know what she was doing on the show. She had no money. By the end of the show, she had money because her husband divorced her and she got a settlement. So, which was something like a lot. Like she was getting like $60,000 a month from her husband or something like ridiculous. And yeah, she had all that. But she got thrown off the show because she pissed off all the other girls because she was like running like an account, making fun of them and exposing them and stuff like that. So she got thrown off the show. And
Did you ever watch a kind of drama documentary called Wife Swap?
What's it called?
It's called Wife Swap. So it's basically a couple, well, two pairs of couples, and chosen to be, as different from each other as possible, and made to do a swap, and then they were just going to film.
Wife swap. They have
Yes.
wife swap in America. I forget what it's called in America. It's not called wife swap. It's called spouse swap or something like that. And yeah, they move. Oh my God, there's this really funny one. Actually, maybe you should play it now. Hold on, let me find it. You'll love it. You'll love it. It's this woman is coming home. She comes home from being on a wife swap, and she's Christian. And the man that she went into without her knowing was pagan. And you need to see her reaction to this. Let me just see if I can find it and send you the. Hold on. It's very funny. Oh, trading spouses.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Coming through to me on Telegram.
Hold on, I'm just making sure that. Okay, here, you have to play this, Claire. I mean, you have to play this for your audience to see this.
Oh,
Because
honey.
this reminds me of my childhood, to be honest with you. My mother wasn't quite this bad, but I sent it to you on Tele.
Yes, I've got it now. Oh, yes. Now I have to stop it and return to it.
She's here. She's here.
No way.
Hey, Bonnie. You're so low. Oh, no. So dork-sided. What? Dork-sided. Not of God. It's not Christians. Did you not ask if she believed in God? She's not a Christian.
She could be a Jew and believe in
It
God.
doesn't matter. She's tampering in doubt-sided stuff. Yes, she did. The entire house is dark-sided.
She said her whole house is.
She is dark-sided too. What? This is my house. I want no money. I want nothing. I want my God and I want my family. This is tainted. I don't want it. Whatever it is, it's tainted. Whatever it is, you give it me. I give it up to God. I'm a God warrior. And I don't want someone with tainted anything in beliefs doing anything with my family. Get out. Get out. I want these crew members leaving. Get these ear sets off of me. I've had enough. Gargoyles, psychics, everything's ungodly. Dark-sided.
I'm glad you're home.
Get the hell out of my house. In Jesus' name, I pray. I've had enough.
Paula, just sit. Mom, come sit with
Did
us.
you talk about astrology?
No.
Did you get hypnotized by her? I have taken a stand. I am not a fence rider. I was over there praying for all these people, but I needed prayer. I needed you to be
praying for
you. You
Mom,
get me.
I was praying for you every night. I was praying for you every night.
I needed your prayers.
So it's my fault.
You did come to my mind. There was nothing of God. Every day it was nothing of God. I had to change the whole plans and make everybody go to a Catholic church because I was leaving. Took the ear sets off, said I ain't leaving. Fly me home.
Mama, just talk
We
to
had a
us.
party, a solstice party.
Well, she said that was about the moon. It was the longest.
Yeah, it's about the moon because they only believe in the moon and the gods and the this and the that.
Janie was not like that.
Her
every
name
year.
is Jade. I went to her station. Her kids don't go to church or believe in God.
She said,
I've been with her kids.
Well, she did.
Ashley, astrology.
Mom, I believe you.
Tarot card readings.
She didn't bring it up with
And if
us.
everybody would look back at everything I've been saying and preaching and praying and saying, I've been saying I am a spiritual warrior because I feel like I'm a spiritual warrior. Like I've had to put armor on just to walk out that house. I want none of this. I want out of this. Because you know what? I won't take some ungodly person telling me what to do with my money or that money for us. I don't want it in my house. Tarot cards and astrology and witch books and
We had none of that here.
because you know why? Because I'm the warrior. I ask all the questions. Take your money, take whatever you got, and get out of my house. In Jesus' name, I pray. They will be on my prayer list to the day I die. Every one of
You
them.
spoke to her?
I speak that into existence, every one of them. I planted that seed and I will see the harvest. Get out of my house. Every dark-sided person, get out of my house. If you believe in Jesus, you can stay here. Don't stay in my house if you're dark-sided. I don't want to see a book of witches. I don't want to see anything, any stars. I don't want to see any of this dark-sided psychics, all the things, tarot card reading. I rebuke it in the name of the Lord.
Mom, come
No,
sit. It was
I am
nothing like that. Come talk to somebody.
I am a prayer warrior. Do you know what she is?
That
You know
was
what
such
they
a-
do? Did you ask her, was she a Christian? Did you ask her, did she believe in God? Not God, not star, not witches. God. I've been educated. Well, I've been educated on stuff I didn't even want you to hear, but you need to. You know why? Because Mama can't protect. They put me on the talk show and had a psych in the air. I took the ear sets off and said, I am flying home. I don't believe in this. Why don't you ask? Why am I the... I'm always the one that asks all these things. I'm the one that's the warrior. Why can't you be the warrior? And then they had this wonderful star thing. Okay. Yeah, there's Buddha, and there's the Buddha flag, and there's the zoology. It just goes on. Every day it was something ungodly. I was thrown in the pit. Thrown in the pit. You couldn't even walk up the front door without the Buddha flags here. He thinks he's been reincarnated. Nothing of God. I felt dark.
What did you think of that?
Oh,
What did you think of that? That was trading spouses.
that was really powerful. I wasn't sure if it was being acted by real actors, but obviously it was real, right?
Yes, it was real. No, she wasn't an actress. No, this was a real show. I saw the whole show.
Some crazy people. So basically, she came home after spending the time with the other couple, right?
Yes, with the other spouse. Yes.
And discovered that they were Jewish. The people who stayed in the person who stayed in who moved in. What was that?
No, nobody was Jewish. No, she's a Christian. Another family was pagan.
Oh, pagan, right.
Yeah, witch books, tarot card readings. It was, it was really. But when that came out, that was a big deal. That everyone heard about that. The poor family's probably just like totally embarrassed, and totally embarrassed. I mean, my mother wasn't like that, but I mean, would she flip out about stuff? Yeah, I mean, she would not like that. I mean, she wouldn't like scream about spiritual stuff like that, but she would get like possessed like that, a little bit when she was like thought that something was off spiritually.
What? I mean, like, did you bring something back? Read the horoscope, or I don't know, the equivalent of that.
Well, no, when I was a child, I got into witchcraft, and she kind of flipped out. You know what I mean? She flipped out, and that would have been
voodoo dolls or something.
Something like that, and she flipped out. She flipped out, but no, she you know, it was just, yeah, she flipped out over that. And it was a big deal. It was a big deal at the time, you know, but no, I mean, that woman was just really crazed, you know what I mean? Like,
I actually thought she was an actor
you thought she was an actress?
because she was being so dramatic, you know, and she was wearing that posh dress for some reason, which is unusual, right?
She was an actress. No, this is real. This is real. That's why it's so funny, because it's real. And then you saw at the end she decided to take the money, right?
Yes. That was a punchline, I suppose.
Yeah, no, it's like very funny. Very funny stuff, you know, but no, I'm sure, you know, I don't know, but they don't usually get that, like, I don't know if she was Catholic or she just brought them to a Catholic church. I'm not sure.
The Catholics are quite laid back in a way about their religion, don't you find?
Yes, they are.
She must be some kind of Christian evangelist or some weird sect like that.
Yeah,
It's those little sects that get all excited about these things.
Yeah. No, when I'm off the phone with you, I'm actually going to check that again. It's so funny. It's so ridiculous. I'm just looking at her dress. Oh my God.
I mean, she was obviously wearing a Sunday best, right? For her. Oh, she's become a TV personality now.
Really? How do you know? Where does it say that?
Well, I just looked up her. She's now a TV presenter. What? I just Googled her. She's 63 years old.
Okay.
She's got an Instagram. She's on Instagram.
Oh my God, Marguerite Perrin. Let's see her. Hold on. I want to see her. Where does she? She has a TV show. Oh my God. Yeah, she has an Yes. Oh my God. And she got her gastric bypass, right? Because she looks skinnier now. Let me see. Yeah, she does look skinnier. I think she got her gastric bypass.
She's still quite big.
She's with not David Letterman. What is his name? Oh God, I see a picture of her with who was the really famous late night host? Not David Letterman. What is his name? Oh, she has a website. The official website of Marguerite Perrin. Okay, she looks like a witch here. She has all these horrible pictures of her acting like out in that. What is this? Jay Leno. She's on there with Jay Leno.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking her up on Facebook. Is that her? Yeah, she's got 4.1 friends, and she's from Louisiana. Right? Is that the right one? Yes. Yeah, that's her. You gonna friend her? Her last post was 10th of February. She went to Southeastern Louisiana University.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay, my husband called me. That's why I was off for a second. No, she has margueriteperrin.com. She has a picture of her like this with a witch, like a witch. A what? She has a CD? Oh, she has an about. Oh my God. And she has her pictures from when she looks like a witch.
I'm
She has a
surprised she didn't get her teeth fixed, but maybe that's part of,
Yeah, maybe that's
her character.
She has a photo album. Well, she does music. God Warrior. I mean, what is this? Is this supposed to? So she made a career out of this.
Apparently, she often cried, screamed, and fainted in actors' scenes. So it's because of a theatrical personality, I suppose. Doesn't say what kind of Christian she is. I never heard the expression dark-sided.
Dark-sided. The whole entire thing. Dark-sided. Yeah, so that's that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, I am getting tired now.
Well, thank you for coming.
Yep, thank you for having me.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, bye.